methodologies of learning styles, how a student learns, and how a teacher also needs to teach. And is the active learning pedagogy. And to explain us in details about active learning, we have two resource persons with us, Professor Ajita Deshmukh and Professor V. Vijaya Ramaraju. It is my pleasure to introduce, I am pleased to introduce both of them. Professor Ajita Deshmukh is a passionate chemistry educator, keen towards making quality chemistry education accessible and fun. She currently works as an assistant professor, ICT, with the School of Education and Research, MIT, ADT University, Pune, where she trains pre-service teachers. She is also a course developer for OER4BW, that is Open Education for Better World, a UNESCO project by University of Nova Scotia, Slovenia. She has previously worked as assistant professor at CIET, NCERT, and as a training coordinator at Teaching Learning Center, STTP Women's University, Mumbai. Her areas of interest are online education, particularly open education, and she specializes in social media in education. So I welcome you, madam, to this session.
Thank you, sir.
Then we have with us V. Vijaya Ramaraju. He holds a master's degree in power systems from National Institute of Technology, Warangal, Telangana. Inspired by technology, he strives to impart knowledge about the use of technology in teaching learning process with the special emphasis on the implementation of active learning strategies in classrooms. He organized several FDPs on the use of ICT in education and blended learning in teaching learning process as remote center coordinator for Educational Technology Department, IIT Bombay. He is currently working as an associate professor in Electrical and Electronics Engineering Department, Bokaraju Rangaraju Institute of Engineering and Technology, Hyderabad, Telangana. His current responsibilities also include Dean IQAC and TQIP coordinator at GRIT. His areas of interest include use of technology for teaching, for power system analysis, and smart grids. So I welcome you, V. Vijayaraju Ramaraju sir. Welcome to S.P.I.T. Welcome to Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, Sardar Patel Institute of Technology, and for this STTP program. Looking forward for this active learning strategies. As far as our institution is concerned, it's an autonomous institution, and we have adopted some of the methodologies like flipped classroom, experiential learning, all of those kind of things. But still, we somehow feel that we need guidance from the experts like you, and looking forward for your sessions. Over to you, ma'am, and over to you, sir.
Yeah, definitely, sir. Thank you so much for introducing us. So we are very happy to hear that already we are implementing this active learning techniques in your institute. So we'll try to add some value addition to what you are already doing. We'll try to add some value addition to that, sir. Yeah. So I will start presenting the session. 1 second. Yeah. So very good morning to you all. I hope all of you are enjoying the online teaching and learning process. As it's been 1 year, we are forced to move on to the online teaching. So by this time, I hope all of you are in a comfort zone. So mainly this particular session we have planned to add some value addition to what you are already practicing in your regular classes. So we'll try to have a discussion or how we can use this active learning pedagogy in our classrooms. Okay, either it could be online mode or offline mode. Okay, it's not particular with respect to an online mode. Okay, maybe in the near coming days we may again go back to our normal classroom or offline classroom teaching. So you can use these techniques either in offline or online, doesn't matter. Okay. So we are going to have a discussion over this. Before we start the session, I would like to give a small preamble for this session. We have already shared a pre-session document with all of you. I hope all of you might have already gone through the document, so that you will know what are all the things that we are going to do. You will have some sort of understanding before you come to the session. Okay, so here we are going to have a lot of activities, and in our the reason why you have shared that document is we expect more participation from you during the discussions as well as activities through the session. Yeah, with this preamble, just first of all, I would like to present my acknowledgements. I present my sincere gratitude to Dr. Samir Sahasrabudhe sir, who is mentoring us and giving full support in conducting these workshops, and also learning new strategies, especially in this active learning and all. Okay. So he's presently he's a director at EMMRC STTP Pune, and I would also like to thank the Educational Technology Department, IIT Bombay. Almost I am working along with this, ET department since 2012. We have conducted several workshops in collaboration with the ET department, and some of the findings which we are going to discuss in this session, they are the outcomes of the research done by the faculty and research scholars at IIT Bombay, ET department. So I would like to thank the faculty and research scholars. I would also like to thank our team. Actually, though we, myself and Ajita present right now, okay, we have a team of 7 people who are working in this active learning strategies. So I would also like to thank our team at active learning workshops for giving their support. Yeah. So the session is outlined like this. So here, as I already told, it's going to be a discussion type of session. Okay, so where we expect more participation from all of you. So in the initial stages, we'll discuss about what is this active learning and how we can implement this active learning, and what are all the strategies that we can use to implement active learning in our classrooms. And then we are going to have some practice sessions where we are going to do some sort of activities to better understand. Already we have some basic understanding after going through that pre-session document. Now we are going to do more activities based on especially 2 strategies. One is TPS, think, pair, share, and predict, observe, explain. Okay, so we are going to take up these 2 active learning strategies, and we'll try to make our own activities. Yeah, and then at the end we are going to conclude the session from the whatever the takeaways that we have learned from this particular session. Yeah, this is how we have planned the session. So let us start with the first activity, and now I hand over this to Ajita. Yeah, please.
Yes. So, like we all have said, I hope I'm audible enough.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So, like Vijay has already said that we will be doing conversation. So there's nothing like handing over or something, and we would really like everyone to notice the way in which we collaborate, because the first and the foremost thing that we would like you to very clearly notice is he's sitting in Hyderabad, I'm sitting in Pune, and we are collaborating to give a session at a college in Mumbai. So this is basically the first thing that is the emphasis, that things can happen online very wonderfully, and we just need to extend our comfort zones and try to break the barriers as much as possible. The second thing is we are actually going with the flipped class mode, and therefore we have already given you the document. So assuming that you are really very good students, well, yeah, I know I'm calling you students, and Vijay is giving me a big smile from there. That yes, this is just like we are demonstrating if in case you were to do it with your students, then how would it go? So the study material of the flipped class was already given to you. And we had put up our last one question there, that do the critical analysis and find out some critical points. So can you tell us about what were those words in that entire material, the videos and one website that we had given you? What was it that struck you the most as keywords of active learning? You could write in the chat, and throughout the session, we will not at all mind if you want to switch on your mics and say. So let it be a completely two-way communication. So can we have some answers, please? What, according to you, was the key word for active learning as per the material that was given to you? And just see, like, the moment you start writing in the chat, we will be seeing in the chat and we will be putting up your answers on the slide. So Vijay is going to be doing that. He's an expert with handling multiple devices and all that. So I'm just waiting for the answers to come from your side. What were the keywords that you found in active learning as active learning?
Just what are the things that comes in your mind whenever you say active learning?
Get set. You got the first answer as get set go. Yes. Yes, so that was what actually struck them. So it's the preparation. So it's get set go. Group discussion. Okay, I'll give you a hint. When you are doing get set go, what is actually, or what do you expect in the word go from your students? And what do students do in group discussion? Read, watch, do. Great. Very well said. Some more answers. Active engagement. Wonderful answers. Vijay, can we increase the font size?
Yes.
Or maybe my specs number has changed.
No. I will increase the size.
Okay. So, any more answers coming up? You want to see Vijay at his best, like amazing, then you start typing fast. And then you see how much quickly he'll be doing things. Collaboration is another word. Active engagement. Read, watch, do. Peer group formation. Okay, what do we do in peer group? That's a very good word that you have put up.
Yes. Hello?
Yeah. Please go ahead and say. We'll type.
Peer group means like when we are teaching to students, we can make them in a group, like whoever is sitting next to them, and we can give them some topic to discuss among them, and then we present the topic so that they can learn that topic very clearly.
Okay, so you mean to say that there will be discussion in the peer group, is it?
Yes, or any activity we can do to the peer group, yes.
So they will be discussing and then they will be sharing or they will be presenting.
Yes.
Okay, right. And then problem-based learning. Monali ma'am, can we have the mic off, please?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. So problem-based learning. Okay. What do you expect in problem-based learning? I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. Kumudavalli MV.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. When we say problem-based, I generally handle, subjects where math and stats are friends. So whenever we have a case study kind of understanding or a real-time problem we take, and I generally do it in the class also. I get back, kind of reverse engineering, and I make the students get back to the problem statement. So when we have a problem and we try to learn based on the problem, so all the other definitions or maybe the formulas, everything will be put together so that our case study or our study or our learning will be a problem based. So we have a target statement to which we try to implement the formulas in the class.
Yes, perfect. So that means there is a lot of group discussion. There is a lot of
Kind of, yes. Because
brainstorming happening.
yeah, sorry. Because mere formula writing and asking them to just implement the formula, it's easy. So if they do the reverse engineering where they have to write the statement and then which formula fits in, that is actually a better way of doing. So problem-based
Yes.
learning, I mean just that, not anything else.
Yes, yes. So while doing the problem-based learning, I'm sure you must be coming across that there are different ways in which the same problem can be solved, and then the students will discuss and brainstorm and
Yes.
do it real time. So
Yes.
all these things,
Yes.
yeah. So all these things, anything else do we have, or should we put this all together? Okay, so like I told you all that it's you'll be amazed to see what, while you and I were discussing, what Vijay has done. He has created the next slide, which actually, using your own words, he has created a summary of all the things that you said. So can we have the next slide where all these words are put together?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
So
The thing what happened, starting from the yesterday's pre-session thing to till now, it's going to be summarized here now. Yeah, please.
Yes. So what he has done is he has just put the words that you all said when you were talking about or explaining about peer group formation and problem-based learning into what can be said as the characteristics of active learning. So what is actually active learning is where the teacher talks less and the students talk, brainstorm, discuss, reflect, express, maybe write also, as some people were saying that they would present. So they would present, in other words, they would write. Present is like one and the same. And we actually got you to do that, right? At least 2 to 3 people. I mean, many of you all put this up into the chat. So that also comes as talk and write. See, one more thing when we are doing online stuff is that talk does not actually mean talk. Write also is conversational talk. Okay, like what we call as chat. So all of this is nothing but different ways in which students can be engaged actively in real time. And this is what is the goal of all learning. So let's see what's next on the same thing. So here we never asked, though we did give you the study material, but we did not ask you questions exactly based on that at what particular point of time, what is the definition given, or what is it. It's we are not asking you to write any answers, but what we ask you is like identify, give the critical words, compare, analyze, because of which you got enough of space to have some reflection, some talking, and some method of expression. So that's the basis of active learning. And Vijay would like to add something, or is he going ahead with typing something? Because when we do things like this in what do you say, in a collaborative mode or a team teaching, many a times even we both or any of our team members also amaze each other by the speed of which the speed by which we can manipulate the next slide that you all give us the inputs about.
Yeah, this is what we have seen from the starting from the material what we have given to till now. It's all you are involved in active learning. Okay, just not the session is not started just like giving a information. Okay, delivering some information. Okay, so where the participants are also engaged on the same topic. Okay, even the engagement should not be like that. Just to maintain some sort of engagement, you should not deviate from the topic. Okay, it should be whatever the activities or whatever the questions that are asked, they are all centered at the only one point, that is active learning. Okay, so this is what we need to do while conducting this active learning. Yeah.
Yes, and just a few things that I would like to draw the attention to is, see, we are doing flipped class. So we have already discussed certain things, and why flipped class is what you can say the pedagogy that should be preferred is because as students, when we were students, when you and I were students, we were taught, like, we call it as GAN session in the actual session, and then we were left to do the assignments on our own.
Yeah.
Many times what happens is, actually for the assignments is the point where students need us to guide them. They don't need us to, go through the information. And that is why what we are going to do now is, we gave you certain videos and certain reading material about the one particular pedagogy or one particular strategy of the active learning pedagogy. And we are now actually going to see that the homework that we used to give in traditional class, we are going to do it just now. So the assignment is going to come up as an outcome or as a output from your side. So let's see what is that we have lined up for you. And therefore, now again, I will be watching the chat. And this is one topic that we would like to think.
Yeah, let's consider a scenario, which is right now, again, we are going back slowly to the normal mode. So you people might have already started shopping in your regular day-to-day life. So let us think about this scenario and try to put your thoughts of what way you can implement. What do you think that it is the difference in the shopping method in the new normal? Okay, how it is different from the pre-COVID point to post-COVID time. So just you can share your thoughts and put it in the chat.
And we give you 1 minute to think that what is basically the difference. You could only give like a short phrase.
Yeah,
online shopping. Yeah, the answers have like started coming in. Online shopping, digital money. E-payment. So it's like the same thing.
Yeah.
So no, what happens when you actually go for the shopping? What do you have? Home delivery.
In the offline.
Yeah, but exactly, all these points are there. Like, we are now preferring online shopping. We are now preferring e-payment, digital money. We are preferring home delivery. But what if you go to a shopping center today? Or go to a normal shop today? What would you be thinking of? What would you be very conscious about?
What are all the things that are already posted in the chat? Yeah, these things we are doing during the COVID time, actually.
Social distancing.
Yeah, this is what.
Safety issues.
Yeah, fear of corona.
Crowd. Yeah, fear of corona, fear of crowd. Yeah, so don't worry, all your answers we are putting up somewhere. Okay, paperless purchase. Anything else that comes to your mind if you're going for, actually you just have to go to a shop to purchase something. Contactless purchase, yes. But how would you have that contactless purchase? What do we do? And what do we do for the fear of crowd? Yeah, I know that these questions sound very general, but we have purposely chosen a general format, keeping in mind the variety of domains that we would have. Yeah, pre-book a slot. Excellent. So we have lots of options here. Okay, so Coming to the next, our 1 minute is also over. And see, you know, in a small class of 35, let's say, in 1 minute, we have got more than 12 to 15 responses. The other responses, I am expecting that the responses are not coming because more or less they mean the same thing. Because if you're going to type the same thing, it doesn't make sense. That is why people are not saying. We purchase exactly what is required. Okay, okay, but end up shopping more. All right. Okay. So 1 minute is over, and now we move to the next step. We have noted down your answers.
Yes, yes. So the next stage is now we'll request you to pair with your friends or colleagues from either from your department or from the other departments. We would like to think or discuss about how do you ensure this social distancing, okay, which is the new normal now. Whenever you go for shopping, while shopping during this new normal, how do you ensure social distancing? It's not that
So,
COVID is
right,
gone. We need to come back to go back to pre-COVID way of shopping. Yeah.
yeah, right now I do understand that it will be difficult because it is G-Meet, so we cannot have groups. But I'm sure you all must have a WhatsApp group for the STTP members or something. So
Yes, yes,
can
ma'am.
you just discuss there and then tell us about what was your discussion? We are just trying to demonstrate how
Yeah,
it can be done.
I will no allow them to participate there. They are not allowed to.
Just for this, yeah, just for this
Yeah,
activity purpose, like for 2 minutes.
I'm changing the rights, madam. Just a minute.
Yes, yes. Because otherwise what will happen is the brainstorming will not happen. And we would request either Prashant sir or one participant to, after 2 minutes, whatever discussion happens in the social media group, in your WhatsApp group, can you summarize it here, 1 or 2 people?
Yeah, the
Because
rights are
we are
changed.
not a part. No, this is exactly the demonstration that we are not a part of the social media group. So we do not know what you are discussing there. Same way, the teachers do not know what exactly happens in the groups of the students, what they are brainstorming. But yet we can always share later.
Yeah, the rights are changed, madam, and there are
Yes.
responses. I hope.
Okay, so for 2 minutes, please do not give out any responses. Let all the responses come. Let all the brainstorming happen there. Then we will share.
Yeah, I would request all the participants to respond so that someone can summarize that.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam.
So the clock is ticking. And if you want your answers to come up, brainstorm there in the WhatsApp group. Yeah, if it was a school class, then we would have said that, okay, we will give you a chocolate after that. One minute has passed.
Receiving responses.
Yes, yes. Mani Roja, Professor Mani Roja, could you please answer only in the WhatsApp group and then come back with the summary?
Right now, you need not to post in the chat right now publicly. So the same thing you can also do in your classroom, so where you can allow your students to discuss among yourself. Of course, you will have a lot of noise that is happening right now. We are experiencing complete silence, but in real offline classroom, obviously it's going to be a lot of discussion that is happening. Obviously, you can always encourage such type of discussion, and if you want to ensure that the discussion is going on the right track, you can move around the students, and you can also collaborate with some groups where they are finding difficulty in continuing the discussions and all. Yeah.
And when you are doing it in the online mode, you can have Zoom or other such platforms which will allow the formation of breakout rooms. And in the breakout rooms, please instruct the students to switch on their mics and talk. So what happens is you can enter the breakout room anytime and you can actually interact with the students. You can also see what the students are interacting or not. And it can give you a feel of the offline class. Though it's, of course, it's a compensation, we can say, but at least something better than nothing.
Especially when you are doing this type of activity, you are going to get a chance to meet each and every student in your class, and you can understand the difficulties or the way in which they are responding to the challenges or questions. Okay, so in that way, you can also categorize the people based upon their discussions. You can also identify who are the slow learners and who are the fast learners, and then accordingly you can change your strategy. That is also possible only with this type of strategies, which is not possible in case of traditional way of teaching, just a content delivery. So
yes, so our 2 minutes are over, and I would request one of the participants to summarize what they have discussed or brainstormed in the WhatsApp group. We are clueless what you have discussed. So you can switch on your mic and say if you want to.
Yes, really, madam. One of the participants, I would also request.
Or if it is very difficult to switch on the mic, then you may put it up in the chat. But I guess we are all teachers, so everybody loves to talk. In fact, it is very difficult to make teachers stop talking. Yeah. So please switch on your mics and please go ahead and let us know what you have discussed today.
Ma'am, may I summarize?
Yeah, sure.
So, good morning, all of you. I'm Hemant from Diamond Sagar, Bangalore. Am I audible?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah. So the responses are something like this: self-discipline is required. Shopping online is the best option. Prefer to go on in odd hours if possible. Do not go to crowded shop. Keep the list ready priorly and give it to the shopkeeper via WhatsApp and make them delivered back to your home. Mr. Prakash, I guess he said no boundaries. And Prashant sir has said, do not visit on holidays. So these are all this is the summarization of all the, what we call it as, what we call as comments that we have received.
Yeah. Thank you. And it was very nice. Yes, Vijay, you are saying something.
Yeah, you have almost made a SOP for new normal. Yeah, standard operating procedure for new normal. Yeah. Thank you. Within a short duration of less than 5 minutes, you could able to come up with such a very
comprehensive list.
Comprehensive list. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, how was the experience of answering in the WhatsApp group?
I guess it was nice. In the sense is like this is what exactly we are also like to do in a class where you move away from your normal what we call it as media to communicate rather than use a most popular and most means like you say that as a teacher we shouldn't say that most time consuming or time killing app that we have got today is your WhatsApp. Okay, so definitely these are the techniques where these media can be used for a collective work and some constructive work.
Yes,
So that is my
but
observation.
yes, and I would just like you all to reflect upon that. Though you are a part of a particular program, I hope and I think that none of you have met each other, right?
Yes.
In the physical world, but there was no barrier for communication in the WhatsApp group. It was free. Nobody was thinking that what the other person would think of, because we are talking about only one question, a focused question to answer.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
If anybody has got any other view or anything else that needs to be added, please add.
Yeah, we would like to hear from somebody else. Yes. Yeah, this is where we need to have a discussion.
Is there any point which you all have summarized and now you think that it is something got missed out or something needs to be added, something needs to be fine-tuned? Then you can do that just now. So while we actually put it up as the SOP, is there anything?
Especially by this time, as Sir has already summarized, you people now you have come across a lot of inputs along with your thoughts. Okay, you might have put only one point among all these things, but now you can you may be thinking why I have not thought like that. Okay, the way in which the other person is thinking. So whenever you do this type of activities, definitely you will be wondering or you will be amazed with some students coming up with, especially with the out of box type of thinking, and even the teacher may not come up with such a answer. Yeah, all such type of things you can see whenever you conduct this type of activities. Yeah.
Yeah, like one answer was don't go on holidays and have a proper list. So what would, and there was also one more thing in the prior part that was there, that we often tend to shop more if you are doing online, and that is the reason why we said that no, it's like shopping, that you're supposed to go to the shop and purchase and move to the next shop if there is crowd. Anything else that you people want to add? Okay, if not, then I think we can go ahead. So, see, what we have done now is, like I said, that everything is put up in one slide for you. And we actually did the TPS, that is the Think, Pair, Share activity of active learning. That was the first activity that was there in the reading material also. There was one video as well. And what we did was we gave you 1 minute to think. Then you actually, on this particular part, if you see this, what do you think is the difference in the shopping method in the new normal was a very broad question that we had put forth. And you had come up with lots and lots of answers, out of which we picked up one part, that is social distancing.
Yeah. These are all the answers given by our.
These are the answers that all of you gave, out of which we picked up social distancing as one, because we wanted to see how it goes ahead if you have to go out. Then we put it that how would you ensure social distancing, and you discussed it in pairs. Again, you came up with a solution in your WhatsApp group just now. If it would have been breakout rooms, then every small group, like we would have made groups of 5 and 5 or 6, and we would have distributed all of you. So we would have had like 6 to 7 groups, and every group would have come and presented what was their thought of ensuring social distance. And we would have then, like in the previous case, how Vijay had, prepared a slide. Same way, we would have prepared a common slide where each group presents what they have said, and then we would have combined the way we did just now on WhatsApp. So this is actually the way TPS or Think, Pair, Share, one of the most popular active learning strategy can be done. This was just a demonstration for you. Yes, Vijay, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. So this can be conducted either online or in offline mode. So where students will be completely engaged throughout the class. Okay. So you might be doing several such type of activities in your class. So, sometimes what we will do is while delivering the lecture, we will pause after some point of time, that means maybe 10 minutes or 20 minutes. Then we may ask the students, okay, whether you are understanding or whether you are following the lecture or not. Okay. Or sometimes, like one of our participant madam also expressed that he is to give some tutorials to the class, and the students are going to be engaged. Okay, and you're going to do several such other type of things to engage the students. But what happens is, while you are doing all these things, your students may not be engaged throughout the session. But while you are doing these type of activities, what happens is students will be engaged throughout the session. So you can also sustain the engagement throughout the session. Okay. So in the while thinking also, you are engaged individually. Individually thought about the scenario, and you have come up with your own answers. And during the pair phase, you have collaborated with your peers. And you had a discussion, and definitely the question what we need to pose to the students for pair phase, obviously it should follow the first question, like we have taken it as social distancing, which is a follow-up question for your shopping during new normal, but it must be a little bit higher level of cognitive thinking. Okay, it must be a higher order level of cognitive thinking. So then you will have brainstorming with your peers, and you will come up with your solutions. And once these solutions were shared with the entire class, which is going to happen in your share phase, as a teacher, we need to summarize the important points from the outcomes given by the students. And also, if you want to, if you find any misconceptions from the students or participants, then you need to clear those misconceptions during the share phase. Okay, so this is how we can implement, and we have already practiced that in our session right now. Yeah.
Yes. So moving ahead with this, we just would like to take one short. I think we have something called as a chart where we just offer guidelines to keep in mind. That just remember the way the questions need to be framed. In the think phase, the question should be broad enough so that almost everybody can answer. And like the time that you will give would be only 1 minute to 3 minutes, depending upon the breadth of your question. Then also remember that when you are doing it in pair, right now we conducted like a group activity in your WhatsApp, it would be a pair, and give them enough time to brainstorm. And then just remember that the question that you give for the pair phase should always be connected to the think phase. And the share phase is where the students are going to actually come up with summarizing whatever they have discussed in the groups. And
it's like the first point which one of our participants has posted, get set go. Think phase is like a warm-up where you are trying to pull all your participants to come into the discussion or engagement, and then you are setting the goal, and then finally go ahead with the discussions. Yeah.
And exactly like the way all this, the TPS that we conducted just now led to what Vijay has termed as SOP for real-time shopping. See, there is a very clear deliverable at the end of it. So the students also should get that sense of achievement, that doing all this, thinking alone, thinking in pairs, and then sharing all the responses, there has to be a learning, and that should give, or that should result in an absolute clear deliverable. That would make the TPS activity very comprehensive and complete. So let's move ahead.
So for the practice sake, we have put one more scenario of for TPS. It's a taxi scheduling optimization problem. So just I will give an introduction for this problem. So whenever you go for an airport, then obviously you need to book a taxi. So how to program, how to create an app or a program to schedule the taxi drivers which are available in the airport to pick up the passengers. Okay, this is the problem that is posed. Now let us have let us try to put it in the TPS form. Yeah. So here you need to design a taxi scheduling service for an airport by using these two constraints. That is, whenever a driver arrives, first of all, his ID need to be entered in an array. And then when a customer arrives, the earliest waiting driver is assigned to will be assigned with that particular customer. Okay, so these are the two things which you need to ensure. So let us try to build your own questions. We would like to see your answers for think phase, pair phase, as well as share phase. So this is a scenario which is put before the participants. So you need to build your own questions for all the three stages: think, phase, and think, pair, and share. So just we are giving one minute time just to try to phrase the think phase question for this particular scenario, and we can post it in the chat. Okay, we will share the same in the PPT also. So would like to hear from you what type of question that you would like to pose to your participants in the think phase. Just like the way in which we have asked what are the things, the way in which you are going to follow while you are going for shopping during new normal or post COVID period in the previous case. So that is the example. Now we would like to hear from you. What type of questions that you would like to pose whenever you would like to solve this type of problem in your classroom using TPS? Yeah.
So again, like last time, like the previous example, we will be writing whatever you say.
Yeah.
How do you, I mean, I'll just make it a little bit simple to what Vijay has said, even though you all are from engineering faculty. So I don't think you need any simplistic thing, but still, what would be those things that would be required when you're thinking of an ID, the driver ID? And like, this is the parameter, right? That the ID has to be matched to the earliest waiting customer, like whatever. So these two things have to be mapped. So how would you do that? Can we have the ideas in the chat? Acha, anybody wants to switch on the mic, can please go ahead and do that. Huh? And while people are thinking, we are very happy to see Dr. Samir Sahasrabudhe joining us. Welcome, sir.
Yes, good morning to all.
Good morning, sir.
I'm going to be mostly in the listening mode because I have a couple of visitors in my office. But I see that a lot of activities are going on, and I just had a query here. So this is the question that you have posted right now. is for the students, right? So students have to design a taxi scheduling service. So what would be the think level question that you will ask them? Is this correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Prashant sir probably is a happy person to see you here.
Yes. Yes, madam. Welcome, sir.
Okay, so are we having any answers before we allow you to think in pairs? Okay, I'll just give you a hint if you require. Any variables you can think of here? Because you're supposed to map, right? Photo. All right. Photo of the driver, you mean? Or both? Okay.
Is it okay, madam, if we can have a Aadhaar card of the driver as the identity?
Oh, yes. So Vijay is writing down probably all the answers that you people are giving. Requirements of license. Okay. Valid ID. Yeah. Taxi number. Nice.
So actually, we are asking you to create the question for the students. Okay, the think phase question for the
So
students.
based on this, what would be the question? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are not asking you to give the answers the way in which.
Yeah, so whatever you have put up, can you frame a question based on this?
Exactly.
Which would serve as the base of the thinking in the pair. What is the best ID to identify every driver?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Perfect. So now, once you frame this question, whatever answers you have given earlier are, very nice. Write down the parameters to check the identity of the driver. List the possible IDs for a driver. Okay. Right. So now let's go to okay, is Vijay typing it? Okay. I'll just wait for a second.
Right.
Okay. So Vijay, we have 3 questions. So I think we can go ahead.
Yeah.
So once, So now once that we pick up one of these questions, so can we just create one question out of this, like what would be the variables required? Or what would be the parameters? So something of that sort?
Yeah.
Okay. Then what would be the next part that you would ask your students to brainstorm about? That is in the pairs. So what would be the next question that you would frame?
So in the pair phase, just once again, I'll show you the scenario. So this is the scenario. So you have now in the initial stage, you have asked for the identity of the driver. Now we need to pose a question so that it must be in continuation to the first question itself, but at a higher order level thinking, so that the participants can discuss among themselves and they can brainstorm and they can come up with a solution.
Yeah. So you are saying that now the participants should look at the questions which are posted on the chat.
Yes.
Yeah. These are the questions they are already shared. Yeah.
My suggestion is okay. Okay. Fine.
Yes. So can we have a pair level question that you can imagine your students would undertake for brainstorming in pairs?
So only keep in your mind that at the end we need to solve this problem. So we need to assign a taxi for the customer who arrives at the first
Yeah.
first
So
service.
suppose we have a list of IDs and whatever the ID that you decide, whatever parameter you decide. After that, how is that mapping going to happen in the app? Sort of. So how would you do that? How would you have the question? How would you frame the question for that brainstorming to happen? So for this mapping, there would be some relation function, right? All right. Let's try to give them a little bit more of him.
Yeah.
Because I'm also seeing at the watch.
So in the think phase, we have identified the car driver's identity. Now we need to assign the customers with the pair phase, you can say. So think about a question, how we are going to assign the customers to the driver who arrived first in the launch, airport. So we are waiting for your response in the chat. So you can discuss with your
in your
WhatsApp group.
Yes, we have one and a few questions.
Yeah, right.
Yes, so assigning of the time or mapping, what would it require? We're just trying to look out for very specific words because we are.
One answer is there on the WhatsApp
Yes, please.
group. Any prior registration is required for driver as well as earlier engagement time so that we can calculate waiting time. Once again, I will read. I guess I was not clear. Any prior registration is required for driver as well as earlier engagement time so that we can calculate waiting time. I would rather post this in the chat.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to understand what is being said. I think Niyati ma'am has also said the same thing. That how much time would be required? Yeah, so wait time is actually what we are looking out for. Okay. All right, so once we have these type of answers, we would be, yeah, prior registration for authentication. Okay. So when we say authentication, can we say that it is a, we'll need to have a functional code for that? Do you all agree if we use the words? Yes. So we were just trying to come up with, I mean, because, you know, like we are, like right now, Vijay is working on these slides and I'm already working on the next slide. So we are just trying to put up whatever you are saying into most simpler words possible. So and you all have said yes. So thank you for that quick yes. So let's go ahead, and then what we would do is, after this brainstorming, all the groups would come and share. Achha, you're coming with the share slide? Yes.
Yeah. So again, we need to put up a question for share phase. To summarize, what are the things that we already have been posed in the think phase and pair phase, think phase and pair phase, so that you can come up with one solution for the entire problem. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be a brainstorming here with all the possible things. Now that we have put it up as a functional code, as a very small word here, and the variables, then all of you, I mean, all the students or all the participants would then try to figure out how to map every variable to every functional code. And we can come up with a simple type of pseudocode if possible. So the next slide is ready, Vijay. I'm not as fast as you, but yes, it's ready. So, and you can go ahead and add if something is missing.
Yes.
So we just put up together what was first you all said about the IDs and the license requirements and everything as what would be the structures and variables. And then what you discussed about the wait time and the functions. So we just put it up as pseudocode for the functions. I am not from the technical background. If that pair question is wrong, please feel free to correct that question. Okay. So this is how the TPS would be estimated to be done in the online or the offline class as well. Anything you have to say, Vijay?
No, just you can conclude this TPS activity with this TPS activity over here. So we'll now just we'll move on to the next strategy, which comes under the active learning technology.
Yeah, but before that, you have created one particular part, right, where you have summarized how to implement TPS. Yes, yes. So let's see.
Yeah. So this is how we can implement TPS in our classroom. Just to summarize, what are all the things that we have done till now in the session. Just it's a summary slide over here. So we have divided the things what learners are going to do and what teachers are going to do. So initially, the teacher is going to ask a specific question about the topic. Okay, and it's completely for a focused question about the topic. And it's going to be, as we have already seen the rubric, must be a broad question so that we can bring all the students for the discussion. Okay, so we will not leave anyone so that everyone can participate in the particular phase. So the first question is a broad question, and then once the teacher poses the question, then learners starts thinking and works individually. Okay, here it's a individual activity. And then again, the teacher is going to ask a question related to the think phase, but at a higher level cognitive thinking. And then again, now the pair phase, he's going to allow the learners to discuss among themselves and to brainstorm and come up with a solution. Okay, so at the pair phase, students are going to work with a partner or in a small group. If it is a very large class, then you can also make it as small groups of 3 or 4 students, and they can be assigned with a task, and they will have a complete discussion, brainstorming, and then they will come up with the solutions. And then the teacher will ask the pairs to share their work with the entire class. This is where actual learning is going to happen, where their ideas may be contradicting with their peers, and there again you can have a lot of discussion that is going to happen in the class, and at the same time learning will also happen. So at this point of time, the students from the pairs, okay, the individual groups will come forward and they will give their ideas, they will share their ideas with the entire class. And finally, the teacher is going to moderate the entire class discussion and highlights the key points. And if there are any misconceptions, he's going to clear those misconceptions. Okay, this is how you can implement TPS in your classes.
Yeah, and if you see this diagram, very clearly there is always a to and fro. There's one arrow going this side, another arrow going this side, and the consistency also is there. So let's go to the next. Yeah, this is what we have to keep in mind when we are framing the TPS activity. Like just now also, when we found that we were not able to get the answers, we were trying to give you some certain clues. So that has to be followed. I think, Vijay, we should move to the next one, keeping in mind the time.
So I'll quickly go through these benefits. So here, as I already told, students are going to be engaged throughout the session, and they learn from each other. Where you can expect peer learning. It's not like only the teacher delivering the lecture, and students can tackle large and ill-structured problems. Okay, so you can have this advantage, and makes class interactive. Obviously, you can remember that advertisement, that is "Dag bhi acha hai." So discussions are also good now. Yeah, you can allow that noise in the class, which is very constructive. Yeah, students realize that even others are struggling. So whenever this discussion happens, they will also have the concern with others. Builds a friendly academic atmosphere. This is most important, and includes all the students in the teaching learning process. Also, students obtain immediate feedback on their understanding. So these are all the benefits of TPS.
Yeah, which actually Hemant sir had said when he was giving us the feedback about what happened in the WhatsApp group. Yes, so moving ahead. Yes, take over, Vijay.
Yeah, next active learning strategy which we are going to discuss practice is going to be predict, observe, and explain. Predict, observe, and explain. So where you can use this type of strategy, just to have a simple introduction. You might have already gone through the material which we have already given in your pre-session document. So right now you might already have some basic idea about this POE. Just to elaborate on that, whenever you are using any visualizations, like either they could be of videos or some sort of simulations which you are demonstrating in your laboratories. Okay? And again, one thing you need to understand, these activities you can perform both in classrooms as well as laboratories. Okay? Don't think that these are only restricted only for classroom teaching. Okay? So you can also experiment with these strategies in your laboratories also. So whenever you are coming up with these type of visualizations, what you can do is you can show the visualization and you can identify one pause point where it's going to create what you call inquisitiveness within the students. Okay, so you need to identify that point and then you need to pause at that point, and then you can ask the students what is going to happen next. For example, if you are simulating something and you are showing the results, okay, you can change one parameter, and you can also ask what could be the response of the system. Okay, if I change some constant like a proportional constant or integral constant or any other derivative constant, what would be the response of this first order system or second order system? Those who are from electrical engineering or electronics engineering, okay, you can use your PID controllers and you can ask the students what they are going to expect as the output, and then you can take the responses from all the students, and then again you can continue with the simulation and you can show the result, and then you can have a discussion where you can explain the way in which the response is, why that response is coming like that. Okay, so you can have a lot of discussions at that particular point of time. Okay, so this is broadly about POE. Just
yeah. And by the time Vijay goes to the next slide, I'll just tell you, people love to predict. Be it a cricket match, even at that time, we will observe how everybody is playing and what the positives of the next team are and what are the positives and the negatives of our team, and we will like to predict what is going to happen even in the next 6 balls, next 6 overs. With everybody, human nature, it is like if you allow people to give a prediction based on observation, they will come up with it. So just that.
Yeah, just look at this scenario. Here the person is, here you have a balloon which is tied up to the floor and it is completely put in a enclosed thing, completely sealed one. Now the person is trying to push that entire enclosure on the floor. Now let us try to predict what is going to happen with the balloon inside that shell. So this is a question. Now just you can predict what it's going to happen, whether it's going to move forward or whether it's going to move backward or won't move. Okay, these are the possible cases. Just you can
yeah, please type
yeah, chat. Otherwise, you can also go through this Mentimeter. You can go to this menti.com and you can also put your answers at menti.com. You can, if you are using your cell phones, you can directly scan this QR code and you can enter your answers. Yeah.
Yeah, both is fine.
Yeah, both is fine. Yeah, even in chat is fine. Yes.
I'm only concerned about the time. So
Yes.
let's please use whatever is going to be the quickest, easiest.
Yes, I'm trying to see the responses, if there are any responses in the Mentimeter.
Sir, for the first question, predict the outcome.
Yes.
Means,
Yes.
will you please tell a sentence behind?
Okay.
Just we are asking you to.
Okay.
The balloon is going to move forward or backward or stay back.
The person is going to push this box, which is there. The box is the balloon is in vacuum, and if it is pushed, what do you think will happen to the balloon? Will the balloon not move, or the balloon will move forward, or it will move backward?
Okay, madam. Thank you.
What is your prediction? Yes. So can we have ABC in the chat itself?
Just we got some response in the mentimeter.com. Yeah, we got 3 responses right now. I think you people can able to see the screen results. Are you able to see the screen, ma'am? Ajita?
No, sir.
No? One second, I will share this.
Yeah, did you say something? I missed it.
No, just I am sharing that Mentimeter
Okay.
screen. Just, yeah, I think now we can able to see. So we got 6 responses in the menti.com. So we have 4 voting for won't move, and we have 2 for move forward. There are no responses for move backward. So these are the responses, and those who would like to give your responses, you are also welcome to give your responses in the chat or both in menti.com also. So
yeah,
just,
in fact, if you give your responses in the Menti right now, you will see the numbers changing here in the graph.
yes.
So
Move forward. Okay, one response in the chat, it's move forward.
Yeah. All right. So
now what I will do is I will show you the video, and then we can have a discussion. Okay, so already I have a video where this experiment is performed. So I have paused at this particular point. I have posed the question. Now I am going to reveal the remaining part of the video. Okay, so I will share the video link. One second.
yeah, actually what we are trying to show is, by the time Vijay puts up his video link, let me just tell you what we are trying to do. We are trying to ask you first, that means you should also ask the students what would happen, like their prediction in a particular scenario, and then have discussion whether their prediction is right or not. Yeah, so here is the video. Yeah.
Yes. So what is your observation? Again, now also you can put your answers in the chat. Sorry. Are you able to follow the video or not? It's a quick video, a short video of 9 seconds.
Yeah, all right.
So now,
Yes,
at least now you can see the answers.
Yeah, so we are just moving ahead a little bit quickly because, like I said, I'm always concerned about the time. So here, this activity basically was not to understand or estimate your understanding of physics. It was just to show that how you can do this. Now see, because somebody would, like, you are not getting the same answer, right? Somebody is saying it will move forward, somebody is saying it will not move, somebody is saying it will move backward. Now you show the video and then you have a discussion on it, like what made the people say it won't move. Then you can figure out very clearly whether the students have understood the concept of Newton's law, or in the discussion they would come up with that what made them think that would it move forward, would it move backward. Don't say anything, like don't say whether this is right or this is wrong. Let first the entire discussion come up, and then at the end explain why one answer was correct and why the other was wrong. So we are just rushing against the time, and that is why I have, like, just given you a summary. Anybody has to ask anything for this? Otherwise we would have actually done this now, that we would have asked one of you to say that why did you say move forward, why did you say
in
backward?
fact,
oh, Samir has want to say something. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that when you actually reveal the answer, you show the video, you can again have people talking about it rather than you telling it. You can also tell them, okay, then now would you like to correct it? Like, what is the reason that it is happening like this? And most of the time people will say, yeah, we just realize inertia and all these things. So let the answer emerge. That's the idea.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So that is about POE. Now let us summarize how to implement this POE in our classes. So again, we have divided the roles of teachers and learners, the way in which we have already discussed in case of TPS. So in the first part, the teacher is going to play a video or any visual, not only video, any simulation or any other thing. Then he's going to identify a strategic point, and then he's going to pose a question to the participants or learners. So here the learners are going to watch the visual, and then he pauses the visual at the particular strategic point. Okay. So at that point, the student starts predicting the answers. Okay, what might happen after this particular point of time? Okay, what could be the response? Okay, how the system is going to respond? Okay, so they are going to have such type of discussion, and then you can also ask them to give their answers. Then once you have the entire thing jotted down either in your on your board. You can also ask the students.
Yeah, is it a problem at Vijay's end or is it a problem at my end? Okay, okay. Yeah. No.
Sorry for the network issues. Yeah. So then he's going to show the rest of the visual, and then we, as Samir sir just now told, they can have the discussions among themselves, and then the teacher can moderate the entire discussion, and finally you can conclude. Yeah. Anything to add, ma'am? Ajita ma'am?
No.
So this is how you can implement POE in your regular classes. Like that, we have several other active learning strategies. Because of this time constraint, we could not able to discuss about all such active learning strategies. But as a to consolidate, these are some of the active learning strategies which you can try in your classrooms to make a difference between your traditional teaching and active learning. Yeah. So we have already
And I
seen
hope Vijay.
Yes, sir.
I hope your slides are going to be on your website for people to see.
Yes, sir.
So they can go to this website and browse on their own to know about the other strategies.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir. So these are all the other strategies which you can also implement to make a difference between your traditional way of teaching and active learning, and to get more out of from your regular classes. Yeah. So we have already discussed about POE and peer instruction is another interesting strategy which you can also implement. And then like TPS already we have discussed, and you can also have team based solo, and we can also conduct several such type of activities like debates, role play, problem based solving. Again, it all depends upon your learners and the time constraints. Based upon all these constraints, you can decide the activity which you would like to implement in your classrooms. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Ajita, would you like to add?
Yeah, no. So we would like to just summarize with a few graphs that how engagement actually varies across the class, and we are just trying to, like, last 2 minutes. So we just have summarized that many a times these are the ways in which student engagement differs. Like, you may have a very high engagement in the beginning, which might show a steady decrease and which might dip to its lowest towards, like, once the half of it is crossed, and then the students may be happy that the class is going to end, and so the engagement would be high. Or maybe like in the last case where it is as high as the first one, maybe because the teacher is just giving out some important questions for the exam, and then suddenly they are active, or maybe something like, whatever gimmicks we can come up with. But more or less, the middle part is also there, where you have some ups and some downs when you keep on doing certain things, but towards the end, the engagement is very, very reduced. Now, the second one, usually we can see this actually happening in the class. Each of us has been doing this and is guilty of doing this, because what we do is, you can notice that there is no sustenance in the case of engagement. Na engagement constant hai, there is no constant engagement, there is no constant disengagement also. It comes at spurt, okay? And it's not even regular. You see, one time it's like high, then it drops, then again there is a little bit, but it's not as high as the first one. So why does this happen is, I do think we have a slide, but I'm not going on the slide, we will skip it later. It can happen when we just have some historical concepts, or maybe some anecdote or some joke, or something that from the real life, if we are going to just give in, like the garnish that we serve dishes with and some extra additions, if we are going to do that, yes, it will come up. Like, it will have a little bit of, what you can say, the engagement increase can be seen, if especially with all these, like, even a simple question like, do you have any doubts, or let's have a quiz now, and something of that sort. But it's not sustained. It is just an up and then a down. But if it would have been sustained, then we would have had something like in the next graph, where it is having equal, equal rises and equal dips probably. Then we can call it a sustained engagement, because it is too ambitious of any of us to think that we will have a very constant 100% engagement and students are going to be engaged, totally immersed in whatever we teach. Let's get just real. We do not have any VFX. We are not Netflix. We are not even BBC documentaries. We cannot expect 100% engagement all the time. So there's bound to be a dip. But this dip should not go below that line that is shown there. And at the same time, whenever there is a high, there is that engagement, it should not be like lesser than the previous one. And the last part, the last of the class would always have the same level of engagement. So you don't dip the engagement towards the end of the class. That is what is meant by sustained engagement with time when we are doing active learning strategies. So moving ahead, if Samir sir, would you like to add something to that?
Repetition, but
yes,
the basic factor which everyone will agree is that the active learners who are achievers or good in their academics will always be engaged. The strategies are mostly useful for having a parity amongst the engagement from the high achievers and the low achievers, who are typically either shy or afraid of speaking up in the class. So these strategies enable their participation, because when you have to turn into a pair, automatically you have to talk to somebody who may not be speaking so much in the class. So that we need to understand. Otherwise, most of our other strategies have engagement, but this engagement, if you see, is from the normally the high achievers of the class who are anyway engaged. So that I think we should understand here.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And that is how he has already summarized. So let's go to the next slide and wind up by giving out the features of active learning. And these are also, we are sounding certain alerts to this, that please see to it that whenever we are conducting any active learning strategy, the activity should involve, should ensure that maximum students will participate, and they should try to figure out things for themselves that will ensure the critical reasoning and analytical thinking as well. And when we are doing the brainstorming and the last part of TPS type of activities, where when the students express, please utilize this particular time to address any misconception if it is there, any gap in understanding if it is there, then we should be like putting in whatever like we could. So you could have just seen this in the demonstration also. We have been always asking each other that, do you have to add something? Do you have to add something? So maybe because we all are human beings, and so if something is missed in something, somebody else has got a better idea of it, then yes, this can be the particular point in time when your misconceptions or something that is left off can be addressed. And so here, the ultimate objective is that when we just keep on giving gyan, then the students think that they really have understood. But right now, when we demonstrated 3 particular parts, like 2 TPS and 1 POE, actually you would have understood, the students would understand whether really they have understood or what they haven't understood, and what part they haven't understood, so that they can get back to us. So that's it about, and we work in teams to make So we asked questions, we did everything, and we work in teams so that teamwork always makes the dreams work. So please work in teams and please work in, I mean, team teaching is one of the best ways in which you can go ahead. Thank you. Thank you all for the patient listening.
Thank you. Collaboration is the mantra.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Samir sir. This is Rathod.
Yes, sir. After a long time.
Yeah, sir, after a long time. So,
Yes.
Dr. Samir sir he was on our academic council. He was a member of an academic council, and sir has given us very nice inputs in the past. And sir, whatever inputs you had given, we have implemented most of them judiciously. And one of the input was related to this active learning as well, which probably you may also not remember, but we remember. We have in fact noted down.
No, I remember very well because that is like a standard input in any council. I sit down, I say like, okay, let us move to active learning strategies. And
yeah, sir.
I think I'm
sir,
very happy to see that.
There are two. Yeah, sir. So I would like to discuss and comment also, or tell you also that there are two challenges we found out for this active learning. We had a session from you also, I think 2 or 3 years ago. We also had a similar workshop from you. You only conducted offline workshop in college itself.
Yes.
So after that, I was that time I was head of the department in Dean Academics. So I pursued rigorously those strategies, and I found out two challenges, sir. One of the challenge was the arrangement of the classroom. The way we have the classes are arranged to conduct the active rooms, it becomes really very difficult to arrange. So what I did, I have actually rearranged one of the entire classroom. Seating arrangement is completely changed. I had to do that. I had to take a special permission from management, and I'm fortunate that Dr. Prachi madam was there. She agreed for that, and a group kind of arrangement we had made, wherein students can sit in a group and do chit chat. So that is what is the one input which we successfully implemented. So my comment is that rearrangement of the classroom is must. And second, still we are not able to figure out what to do for that, and that is the content coverage. All teachers complain that if we go for this strategy, sir, every time we cannot complete the syllabus. It is not possible. Those things happen, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I would like to answer
that. Is only. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So first of all, I think congratulations that you have implemented the layout of the classroom very well. I sincerely request you to post some photographs about it, of the before and after maybe the classroom which is regular and the new classroom, and write maybe 2-3 advantages of that. That would really help.
Yes,
we
sir.
would like to include that in our slides in future with your permission, so that we can say that, okay, if some college can do that, you can also do that.
Yes, sir. Yes. In fact, once I implemented that classroom in electronics department, that is the classroom now which is the most busy. Obviously, it was during off time after pandemic. Now college is completely closed. But then everybody wanted to book, and we had to prepare. We have to now book the slot. We started the mechanism of booking that classroom actually. Yeah. So that was a good thing.
I can understand. I think yes. So second point is that just for the people who will feel that I don't have a facility to change the layout of the classroom, what should I do? So the answer to that is you can use the benches as the thing. So instead of pair, there is also a facility called a think group share. So you can say 3 people on the bench will become a group instead of a pair, because pair becomes a difficult thing. If you want a larger group, you can say bench number 1 and bench number 2 will make a group, and they are allowed to talk to each other. So such things are possible. So these are the 2 suggestions I have. The question asked was about completion part. So I will tell you, it is a common question asked rather almost every session that we conduct. The answer to that is pretty straightforward, in the sense the entire design of these activities is to be whenever you are going to basically utilize this TPS, you have to see if that will help in taking the content forward or not. It is I am a typical Bollywood person because I am an animator and a filmmaker. So I'll give examples from there. If you see, there are films where the songs are just item songs and they don't serve any purpose in the film. On the other hand, there are some songs where the story moves ahead. So these are the songs that we want. We don't want just the item song. So we have to. I'll give you another example. Suppose you are supposed to or maybe TCP/IP or different kind of network. Now you will rather take time for explaining the 7 techniques and the usage of that and details about that. Instead of that, if you put up a scenario where these things will come up from the learner and 4 of them or 5 of them will come from the learners and 2 of them you have to explain on your own, actually you save on time. The second suggestion is that you saw this lecture of like 1.5 hours or something with 3 or 4 TPS activities in the thing. You had the red slides coming almost after every alternate slide. So we don't have to do this much of activity in every class. My suggestion is, even if you start 1 activity per week, that is good enough, because that will keep the learners guessing. Once they like they enjoy the TPS activity, they would be looking forward to your class. Okay, when is the TPS coming now? I would like to participate. Now that suspense is very interesting for a teacher to build upon. And you can then build upon that thing. I will have it once in a week. Then once you are confident, you can start doing it 1 in 2 days, maybe then 1 in a class. And then you can go ahead with like lot of activity. But once you start doing it, it will be helpful. And the third point is that this is a very iterative process. A TPS, once created and implemented, is not a foolproof approach. So essentially what you have to do is, whenever you create a TPS, you have to get it reviewed by somebody else, whether it will actually get the responses that you are imagining. And that happens a lot of times. For example, even in today's session, when the taxi booking algorithm was being discussed, I found out that there is no sentence on the slide which says that you have to design a question. Therefore, a lot of people were silent for most of the time. Now, this is a kind of review that we should have inside of our team, and by maybe you can call up your friends or you can call up your other colleagues. You can even call on us to get it reviewed. We will try to review that if we can spend time on that. But this is how it will become better. So I think I have the following submissions for your question.
Yes, sir. Yes, very right answer, sir. We will look into it. None of that, obviously, we also follow. That is not too many activities. A few activities we definitely recommend teachers to do.
Sir,
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, Kasam sir.
Sir, would you like to show the tables, the innovative things that I have shared that in the.
No, it is not. It is not on screen. Screen is something else.
Okay, so I will just try to share it again.
No. Sir, it's not that one. It's a final year classroom.
Yeah, the final year.
Assembly,
yeah.
sir.
Okay, so I will stop. Actually, at one of the labs, those videos the tables are available.
No, it's okay. It's okay, sir. We don't have time also. It's okay. It's okay. We will send the photographs as per the sir's suggestion afterwards. It's okay. So thank you, Samir sir. Thank you very much. You as soon as you joined, by looking at the participants, we were really very happy. As soon as you joined, I was delighted to see you. And thank you, Ajita madam. You have conducted a session in a teamwork manner, and really it was an active participation from you, and you could extract the participation from participants. That was great. Thank you, Vijay sir. Vijay Ramaraju sir. Thank you very much. And we look forward for many more sessions from you. And Samir sir, we believe always sir is with us. Board of Studies, Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering, Mumbai University. He also worked as a chair, Working Group 3 on Digital Architecture and Cyber Security, India Smart Grid Forum, PPP for Ministry of Power, Government of India. He has received project funding from ISRO, BRC, and Department of Science and Technology for his various research projects. He is currently working as a principal investigator and coordinator of ₹5 crore World Bank funded Center of Excellence in Complex and Nonlinear Dynamical Systems. He is also working as a faculty coordinator of DST funded startup incubator at VJTI dedicated to energy security. He is a senior member of IEEE. He has won a prestigious AICTE Vishweshwaraya Best Teacher Award for 2020. Sir, I welcome you to SPIT and also for this STTP, and looking forward for your session, sir. Welcome, sir. I hand over this platform to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for inviting me, and Happy New Year to you as well as for all the participants. So let me just upload my slides. Let me get confirmation from your side if those are properly visible. Is it visible or not?
No, sir, it is not visible.
Not it.
Do I need any privileges for presentation, or it is already assigned to me?
Sir, have you selected that present now and screen sharing?
Yeah. I did that. Present now, I did that.
Sir, actually, no permission is required. You can just switch to the presentation.
Yeah, so present now I had done, and now that even the select option is not available, it means it has gone into that mode itself.
Oh, so if that is the case, sir, then you will have to log in again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You can do
Or
that.
otherwise, sir, sir needs to open the PowerPoint presentation on screen, and then it will appear.
Yeah, actually, I had done that.
No, sir, I think once.
Yeah, maybe I will log in once again. Give me 1 minute.
Yeah, once. Yeah, sir.
Yeah, I logged in again, and I'm trying to present.
Yeah. You can select a window option, sir, and then specifically PPT.
Yes. I did that only because we are much conversant with this Google Meet nowadays because of online teaching, which is happening.
Sure,
but
sir,
somehow
sure.
once I do that, it goes into the present now mode, and that option, it shows as if it is selected. The deselection is also not happening. So what I can do is, I think instead of wasting the time, maybe I can send my PowerPoint presentation slides
Yes,
to
I will
Prashant
present
sir,
it.
and maybe I will have to keep on requesting you for the next slide.
Yeah, it is possible, sir. Please send me, sir.
Prashant sir, I just mailed you.
Yes, I have put put my address on the chat box. You may copy, sir.
Yeah. To your invitation email itself, I replied. So I think it should be.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. I'm just reading.
Well, by the time the slides comes on the screen, maybe I can start talking to the audience so that we'll not waste much time. So basically what I intend to do as part of this today's session is so what I want to do in today's session is I would like to give you certain tips. Anyways, the title is like tips and tricks. So there are no tricks as such, only tips are there. So maybe I will be helping you to see how you can present your proposal to the concerned funding agencies. I would also like to bring to your notice different possibilities from where the funding can be attracted for your research work. And then the common mistakes which people usually do while submitting the funding proposal that I can discuss. Obviously, those will be based upon the proposals that I wrote, as well as the proposals which got rejected because of certain lack of clarity and other things, which as part of my own learning, I would like to share it with you, that what mistakes I made because of which ultimately I got rejection to the proposals. So I wrote close to around 10 to 15 proposals, out of which 8 I could successfully get the funding. The others, unfortunately, I could not reach to the final stage of disbursement of money. So that also I would like to share, because that will be even more useful to you rather than what I could get. The better thing will be what I could not get and what was the reason behind that. If I can share with you, I think that will be more useful to you. So I would like to do that. Initially, I had thought of giving one complete case study end to end for my own proposal. But depending upon the time, we can discuss about that as well. Complete life cycle of one proposal by the time the call is made, the proposal is submitted, the evaluation phase, and the disbursement. But that we will see depending upon how much time we get. So thank you, sir. Thank you, Prashant, sir, for helping me out in terms of putting across the presentation slides on the screen. I hope now everybody can see, at least I am able to see that. So I hope everybody must be having the similar screen visible to you. So it reads industrial consultancy and research grants. One more thing that I liked about the title of this entire FDP program or workshop is that for outcome-based education, what are critical issues and solutions we are discussing. So the main critical issue with respect to writing the research proposal is mindset actually. There is no other critical issue which is involved in terms of industrial consultancy and the research. Only thing is we fear whether we are capable of doing that or not. So that is the biggest hurdle I can say in terms of acquiring the research grant from government funding agencies as well as from the industry. So that I would like to as much as possible remove from the mindset. And if I can do that, I will feel that this is the success of the today's 90 minutes that I'll be sharing with you. So at least I would be expecting that outcome of this particular session. So let me begin with this title slide of industrial consultancy and research grants. So maybe we can go for the next slide, which gives the outline of the presentation. So I will begin with providing some introduction and motivation. Particularly, this comes when we are in the private institutes, when we are not in IIT, we are not in NIT, or maybe some well-known institutes. Typically in the private colleges, that too in the tier 2 and tier 3, lack of motivation is the biggest problem while writing the research proposal. So that I would like to begin with the introduction and motivation. Why should we write the research proposal? Then, although we try to keep ourselves mostly engaged in the academic and administrative activities, research are not that way looked into more specifically. However, that does not mean that we are not doing research activities. We, in one or other form, keep on doing that. So we will also try to boost our morale by saying that some activities related to the research we anyway do in our day-to-day academic and administrative activities as well. So that we will try to list it down what exactly are the research activities. Now, and this is what I was talking, I liked about the title of the FDP. What we need to understand is, we need to understand what are the critical issues which are preventing the faculty members from getting into this fold or mold of writing research proposals. So we will try to see what are different type of perceived difficulties or issues that somebody may be having, totally as part of the mindset issue, as I said at the earlier stage. So we will try to see what are those difficulties, and we will actually try to get ourselves motivated that these are not difficulties, in the sense these are actually opportunities that we are having, on which we need to build upon. After that, we will try to see what are different guidelines for writing papers, and followed by general guidelines for writing proposals. Now, why I had done that, let me tell you. Because many people try to write the research proposal in the similar manner as they write research paper. So first thing that we need to understand when we write the research proposal is how it is different than the research paper. And that is what is something needed. So just for the sake of understanding that when we write research paper, what we try to provide the information to our reviewer, and when we write to funding agencies, what are we providing to our reviewers? That will be clarified by these 2 points in my presentation after this outline session is over. Next, followed by this, I would like to give you some idea about what are the funding agencies. Once you understood how to write the research proposal or the clarity is available, you will then be searching avenues from where you can attract the research funding. So certain list of the funding agencies I would like to share with you. However, keep in mind that this list is not exhaustive, because depending upon to which branch you belong to, accordingly there are certain specific funding agencies as well. So this list of funding agencies that I will be providing to you in today's seminar is mainly based upon my understanding of circuit branches. Circuit branches means electrical, electronics, electronics and telecommunication, computer and IT. However, for civil, mechanical, metallurgy and other branches, we may have certain specific funding agencies as well, which I may not be covering. So this funding agency list that we will discuss will not be exhaustive, but this will be indicative list as far as the industry funding is concerned. Now, followed with this, we will try to have certain conclusions. Of course, because this is outcome-based education, so we need to also understand that what we could learn from this 90-minute session that I will be engaging with you. Finally, we'll have some question answer session, and that will be completing my presentation. This is the outline that I have thought of. Now let's begin with the introduction and the motivation part. So mainly when we talk about introduction and motivation, can we go for the next slide, sir? Mainly when we talk about the faculty roles, 80 to 90% of our time is engaged in teaching learning process. So typically based upon every college norm for the allocation of the subject, you may be engaging depending upon whether you are a professor, associate professor, assistant professor, somewhere between 2 to 3 subjects which we need to engage. Nowadays anyway, this online teaching is happening, so even the engagement time has increased, although the face-to-face engagement has reduced because of this corona. But you need to prepare your slides, you need to work out the way in which you can convey your subject ideas to teacher. That has become even more challenging in the corona time, because the students are not in front of you and then it becomes very difficult to understand the feedback. So you'll have to assume the way in which students will be responding to your session. So teaching learning process pre-corona and post-corona as well is consuming more than 70 to 80% of our time. Then comes some administrative load, particularly if you are head of department, dean, or maybe vice principal or principal, or some other load that you may be having. And nowadays, a majority of the colleges opt for NBA and NAC, and that also puts in a lot of kind of work for the faculty members, particularly preparing a lot of files and related to this NBA and NAC criteria, collecting a lot of information, and the statistical analysis and inferences are required to be made. So a lot of administration is also there, even if you are not a head of department or not a very specific administrator in the institute. However, because of these compliances of regulatory authorities, you may be having at least 10 to 15% of administrative load. So if you see, actually, most of your time is consumed or eaten by teaching learning process and administration. Hardly there is any time which is left to think about research, particularly when you are not in IIT or you are not in NIT. In IITs, mainly their culture is more towards promoting research. Accordingly, the subject that they will be teaching is one or at the most two subjects that these professors from IIT teach. However, here in the tier 2, tier 3 institutes, since most of our time is taken by teaching, learning, and administration, hardly anything remains in the research. So we are trying to see how we can actually try to use that time, whatever time available with us, for meaningful research. Now, when I say meaningful research, in the next slide, we can discuss what is that actually. So what are those research activities that we can try to patch on top of our usual academic responsibilities that we are having? So as far as research activities are concerned, it's not something very different than what you do in teaching and learning. You can try to bring the research component in your teaching learning process itself. You can bring in certain innovative ways in the teaching learning process itself that also being counted as a research activities. The next one that you can try to bring is in terms of the projects that you guide, BTech, MTech, or some of you may be even PhD supervisor as well. So supervision of BTech, MTech, and PhD is also part of the research activity. Secondly, in the laboratory development, we can also add certain innovative experiments. This, I think, almost everybody is doing, and if not doing, forcefully being made to do because of NBA and NAC accreditation, that you need to add certain innovative experiments in your lab sessions. Now, that is also a part of research activity. The reason I am listing it down is just to tell you that research is not something that is very much alien to you. You are anyway doing those activities. However, you may not be knowing that these also contribute in terms of research. So your laboratory development is also counted as part of the research activities. The next one is a more serious one. The first category that we talked about is the research which happens along the side of teaching and learning. Now, second group that I will be talking about is more specific research, where we try to write the research paper. We try to submit the patent application and intellectual property rights, or IPRs. It means it's very specifically that we are trying to get into the research activity. If you belong to the institute where maybe government institute typically, which is very well known for its credentials, then you may also be getting consultancy and testing assignments depending upon how you build the relationship with the industry and the government organizations. The consultancy and testing assignment also comes as part of the research activities, because you get to learn many things while doing consultancy, because this is something that you are trying to solve a real life problem. The research also happens in two different directions. One is you can be doing the research which is more towards academic point of view, theoretical point of view, and consultancy and testing will also give you flavor wherein you can be working on the real life problem. And the last one, which is available right now on the screen, is writing proposals for external funding agencies. This is something that today we will be engaging more in detail about the R&D activities, research and development activities. The next one is for the most critical part. That's a motivation. And as I told you, success of this particular session is mainly if I can at least motivate 10% of amongst you, those who are listening, I will consider this to be a success, because whenever I go and deliver the session related to this research and development, I know very well that people feel that this is not something I should be doing. I am having so many other responsibilities, or so many other excuses, in fact. And let me tell you very frankly that I also spent sizable amount of my initial years in a private engineering college before I joined VJTI. And I was also surrounded by the people who were having that kind of mindset. I could somehow break that mindset and come out of that. And I know that some people who are more creative than me, more innovative than me, are still there with the same kind of mindset. So what I conclude based upon my own experience of being in teaching field for around 25 years or so is, the biggest hurdle is in your mindset. It is not anywhere else. And that is what I try to do whenever I give a session on research and development activities, because the rest everything will follow once you get out of that particular block mindset. So that is why I'll be spending some slides on the motivation aspect of that. So basically, let us first try to understand, why should I do research? Because that is the first question, particularly as I'm referring quite number of times, that you will always be feeling that why should I write the research proposal? Why should I submit to DST? Does that ever going to help me? Is that ever going to help me in terms of achieving some higher goals in my life? So let us try to understand what motivates somebody to write the research paper, and you might a research proposal, and you might feel that some or other motivation overlaps with your ambition as well, with your personal ambition as well. And if you can strike chord with that particular ambition, then I feel that you will be motivated for listening to the rest of the session, as well as writing the proposal based upon our discussion today. So the first motivation is from the self-satisfaction. So it is something that you feel that if I submit some research proposal, I am doing something innovative, something creative. So that is the first motivating factor. The second one, which people do not realize much, is when you write a research paper or research proposal, actually it helps you to concise your thoughts, organize your thoughts. And the understanding that you have about that research area even becomes more insightful for you, because then when you write the paper or proposal, you are actually trying to convince the reviewer of that paper or the proposal. While doing so, you also convince yourself. That is what is the indirect benefit that you get. So if you are working in certain area, when you try to justify somebody else that how important that area is, at the back of mind, you are also actually trying to convince yourself. And that is most important, I can say, byproduct of writing a research paper and proposal. The third one is you get recognition in professional life, promotion, awards, and rewards. So maybe if you are working in some professional body like IEEE, you might opt for senior member of IEEE or fellow of IEEE, or maybe you can try to go for applying certain reward at institute level, maybe at the AICTE level. So everybody is having some kind of personal ego, because that is the reason we as human beings try to strive hard so as to reach to new heights. So of course, you would also be having some ambition of being recognized in your professional life, in the way of promotions, in the way of rewards and awards. And that is one of the motivation for writing the research proposal. The next one, which typically happens in IITs or maybe nowadays NITs, about the peer pressure or feeling of left out. This may not happen so in case of private colleges where everybody is having same type of ambition. But typically in IITs, what happens is there is a lot of peer pressure. And this peer pressure drags them to write the research papers and research proposal. Otherwise, what happens in your entire department, you feel that I am left out because there is a lot of competitiveness in many of the institutes, not necessarily in IITs, but in many of the institutes as well, that people are trying to get into this aspect of research just to ensure that they are not left out as compared to their peers. The next one is mainly for some institutes, not everywhere, supporting research scholars and their expenditures. So what normally happens is, if you're having PhD research scholar, you need to make sure that the PhD research scholar gets some kind of stipend or fellowship. Normally nowadays there are many other opportunities which are available, like AICTE is having AICTE doctoral fellow or ADF. Then we also have a lot of other funding which are coming up. But you would also like to provide that research scholar with some kind of support, financial support, by writing a research proposal, and whatever money you get either from the industry partner or from the government funding agency will take care of the expenses which are required for building lab setup or experimental facility. Why people write the research proposals. The next one is about networking and collaborative research. Quite a few people try to apply for bilateral or multilateral type of funding which are offered by DST with Indo-US, Indo-Norway, or maybe Indo-Russia. So many a times what happens is such kind of call will allow you to have the mobility of faculty as well as students or research scholars going from one country to other country, and you can spend sizable amount of time, 3 months, 6 months, etc., as part of that particular research funding itself. So that is one of the motivation for many institutes where people are writing the research proposals, which are for mainly dependent upon networking and collaborative research. The next one is for the lab development, which typically happens with ModRob, AICTE ModRob, where you would like to develop the lab. Then DST FIST is also one of the opportunity where people try to create the infrastructure or lab development facilities by applying to those kind of funding agencies. That is one of the reason why people write the research proposal. Now, this one is something when you have reached to the Sadguru stage in your life, the sainthood in your life, at somewhere before the retirement, maybe 3-4 years before retirement, you suddenly start understanding that I need to give back something to my institute, I need to contribute something, I need to leave behind my legacy. So usually people who are on the verge of retirement, they would like to think in this direction that let me have a bunch of young people with whom I can submit the research proposal, and maybe that can be my contribution to the institute, and people will remember my contribution even after my retirement. This is something which is awakening, which happens towards the end of your active research life and you are on the verge of retirement. So these are some of the reasons because of which people try to write down or get into the fold of research proposal and the research papers. But there may be few more other motivational factors as well. But these are some of those which are commonly observed when people try to write down the research paper. So we can move ahead for the next one. Yes, so having understood this, maybe the next couple of slides are very important for me as I told you, because that is what I consider as one of the outcome of this presentation is. And this is the mindset that I experienced with my stay in the private engineering institute when I was working, that I want to do the research, but where are the facilities? We try to find out the excuses mainly for not getting into the research. And let us try to first understand, and this is very well aligned, as I told you, and I like that title, that outcome-based education, the challenges that you are trying to see and the solutions that we are having. So the biggest challenge is actually in the mindset, and that is what I want to do in next 3 slides or so. And I would be requesting the participants, if you have anything related to this difficulty or challenge that you are having in your mind, not getting into the research, please listen them carefully. So maybe next slide, we'll first try to get into what are the perceived difficulties. When I interact with the faculty members, because I am also AICTE's Margdarshak, one of the Margdarshak appointed by AICTE. So as part of that, we interact with many faculty members, mainly from understanding what are their perceived difficulties and what prohibits them getting into the active research field. The biggest one that I observe while interacting with many of those faculty members, they say that there is no time available. Most of the time goes in clerical work, administrative work, mainly because of NBA or NAC or departmental work. and the teaching, of course. And there is hardly any time which is left for doing research. This is 90% of time while interacting with a faculty member is the excuse or justification that we get, that I'm neck deep into clerical work. My institute authorities are putting me into so much of clerical work that hardly anything is left for me to think innovatively or creatively as part of the research. The second one is there are no facilities available in my department, because generally when we talk about the research, what people feel is immediately they start thinking that we should have facilities to create nuclear fusion or nuclear fusion type of laboratories that we see in the Hollywood movies or so sci-fi movies, etc. So we do not accept that research can be done without having any facilities as well. So the perceived difficulty that everybody feels is, my institute is not IIT. I do not have research facilities. I do not have access to the instruments, kind of experimental platforms which are required for doing the research. That much amount of money my institute is unable to put into for high-end research. And the next justification comes is, my campus is not residential. I'm staying in Dombivli, I'm staying in Borivali, whereas I need to travel to Bandra, or I need to travel to Andheri or Baikala area. And most of my time, creative time, is actually burned in commutation itself. So IITs could do that kind of research because they are residential campuses, whereas my most of the time is vested in the traveling itself, and hardly any energy or time is left for doing the research. And third and the last excuse that we generally give is about the research culture, lack of research culture. We say that my institute, if I'm doing some research, I will be targeted. My HOD will target me for doing research, or my principal will target me for doing research. So mainly these are the three main perceived difficulties when we interact with the faculty members. What prohibits them from getting into the active research is encapsulated into these three different broad categories, I can say. Now, if you are also stuck with any of this, then please listen to the next few slides, because if you can get out of that mindset, and that is what I said, that I was in company of many great people in my initial years, but they stuck with this mindset for long and they could not come out of that, and they remained there itself. So particularly amongst those people who are listening to the session, those are in the younger age group, new entrants into the teaching. If you are also got stuck with this kind of mindset, I will request you to focus your attention for next 3 slides that I have. So let's look one by one. So let's talk about the clerical work. Let's talk about the excuse that we give, that there is no time available. Most of my time goes in the clerical or administrative work. So let's try to see whether it is justifiable or not as excuse for not doing research or not getting into the research. So let me give you the example. Actually, there are photographs. I think maybe these are not visible right now. Yeah, now they are visible. So Albert Einstein, I hope each and everyone knows, being in engineering. If you do not know at least this couple of names like Albert Einstein or Alexander Graham Bell or Newton, I think everybody is well aware about the contribution these great people had. So I just want to take aside your mental block of being engaged too much into the clerical work. See, you are into engineering college and you feel that you are stuck into the clerical work. But Albert Einstein worked as a clerk itself. So it means he was 100% by the designation itself as a clerk. In fact, he was class 3 clerk in the Swiss patent office. And he became permanent in 1903. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is that he was clerk and he was doing clerical job. So of course he was neck deep stuck into the clerical work. And in the same period, 1905 or so, which is called as Einstein's miracle year, where he published 4 groundbreaking papers. One was on photoelectric effect, Another one was Brownian motion. The third one, for which he is well known and well respected, is special relativity theory and the equivalence of mass and energy. So he came up with the path-breaking result research work while being clerk itself. So I think saying that I am neck deep in a clerical work is a lame excuse in terms of doing some kind of research or innovative work. The next one that I would like to tell you, this is mainly because I am currently as a head of department, and I also see a lot of my colleagues telling me that we are stuck in NBA work and I'm hardly getting any time to do research. Now I'm trying to give this example that they were clerks only, and still they could do kind of work that they had done. So Arthur Kelly, the second example that I'm giving, who is well known for Kelly-Hamilton theorem. I think those who worked on linear algebra or matrix theory, they must be well aware about this Kelly-Hamilton theorem. He was a lawyer. So it means by the very profession, 90% of his time he must be spending on writing long reports, long case studies, litigation related documents, etc. And still he could think on the Kelly-Hamilton theorem, which many of our researchers, scientists, and engineers follow till today, being into the profession of lawyer. The next one, particularly those who are from electrical circuit branches, they know De Morgan's theorem very well, right? So De Morgan's theorem, I think in logic circuit and other, becomes a very fundamental theorem. And De Morgan himself was also a lawyer. It means by profession itself, he was into a clerical administrative work, wherein he must be, for his bread and butter, he must be writing a lot of litigation oriented documents, reports, etc. So it means having responsibility of clerical work, having responsibility of administrative work is not some kind of excuse that we can give for not doing research. It's just in our mental block actually. And that was the reason I wanted to give you 3 significant examples of the people which we know well. That's why I chose these 3 people. But there are many other people who contributed a lot in terms of research, even though they were neck deep into the clerical work. So I hope I made the first point clear. Let's move ahead for the second one. Now, second one, I want to give the example of Thomas Alva Edison. And I hope that everybody knows about this as a father of electricity. And the reason I'm giving his example is just to remove the misconception from our mind that there are no facilities available in my department, institute to do high-end research, and my campus is not residential, hence my travel burns most of my energy and time. And that is the reason I don't want to get into the research. If you are stuck with this mindset, this will motivate you to opt for the passion which will bring into this research. Actually, many people avoid getting into this beautiful journey of research just because of that mindset issues. And that is what I would like to remove it here. So why I want to give you example of this Thomas Alva Edison is, when we talk about, at least in Mumbai or metro cities where our travel is consuming a lot of time, this person, Edison, actually sold candies and newspapers on the train. So when we travel, at least we are sitting or standing comfortably. This person was actually on the train. He was selling candies and newspapers in the train between the 2 stations. He then subsequently became telegraph operator at the train station. And towards the end of his career, he had more than 1,000 US patents in his name. So if you feel that the facilities are not available in the department, that is why I don't want to do the research, or you are spending too much of time in traveling, that is depriving you of your peace of mind for doing research, then of course, I think you need to think it twice, with the example that I gave it to you as the Thomas Alva Edison. Maybe we can go for the next one. Now, this is something which is very interesting. People say that my institute or department is not having research culture, and I might be getting targeted because if I do research, people might feel that I am doing something which will put the other people in trouble. ever if you get this kind of thought, then please look at this gentleman, Galileo, who is called as father of modern physics. And because he found that all those heavenly bodies are not revolving around the earth, but instead around the sun, he was put under house arrest. And being in house arrest, he could write the path-breaking research, and most finest of his work came when he was under house arrest. So if you feel that the institute is not having research culture, please note that nobody has put you in house arrest yet for doing the research or for finding some kind of innovative results which people do not agree with you. Next. And this is something very important one. This is something very motivating, in fact, that when you say that I don't want to do the research, or I don't want to get into this, or I do not feel to get into this because I have a lot of personal issues, my peace of mind is no longer there, I'm having a lot of family issues and health related problems, I'm suffering with blood pressure or sugar, and then I am unable to concentrate on the research, then you have a look at this gentleman, Stephen Hawking. Look at his health situation. Look at, despite of this health situation, what he could do. Compared to that, I think our health is 100 or 1,000 times better and capable for getting into this research mindset. So the reason I gave you this couple of example is that the biggest problem to get into the research is in our mindset. We have got stuck into so much of negativity, and we have got so much of used to providing excuses for not taking up something which is really beautiful by giving some kind of justifications, as we talked about earlier. I think this is the right time. If you're listening to this session, then please remove all those negativities from your mindset and understand your potential and try to jump onto this very beautiful journey. Let me tell you my personal experiences. Writing a research paper, writing a research proposal, whether it gets accepted or rejected, irrespective of that, is really a beautiful journey. You will enjoy this once you start getting into this. And sometimes what happens is you get so passionate with this that many of your life problem you ignore just because the positivity that you derive with getting into this research arena. So I think if you are not actively pursuing research, you are missing something very beautiful aspect of your life. And that is what I would like to encourage you to get into this, and you will enjoy the phase that comes after writing research paper. Even if your paper gets rejected, even if your proposal gets rejected, you will still get some kind of inputs, because the rejection comes with some kind of justification. They will tell you that you need to modify this, you need to upgrade this, you need to have better results related to this particular outcome that you have proposed. So these are actually driving you to follow it on further, and that's a really interesting, that's really beautiful. So this was something mainly from motivational point of view. So let us now get into a more serious part of discussion, that having understood that 90% of our not getting into the research problem are at the mindset level. Once you are done that, let's talk the research. Let's try to see what we can do as part of this. So from where I can start? Now the question, eagerness that you may be having is, okay, now I understood that it's really beautiful and you believe whatever we discussed with the examples, and then you feel suddenly energetic, suddenly positive, and then you start thinking, from where should I start? So first starting point can be from your subject itself, the subject that you teach or lab you conduct. We can try to, rather than going, because there is one typical approach which is called as book to board type of approach. You read something from the textbook and you reproduce as it is on the board in front of the student. Rather than doing that, if you can try to bring in some new perspective in the subject that you are teaching or the lab that you are conducting, that is a good decent point to start with. Try to provide some additional references, try to give some motivating examples or homework to the student rather than giving the routine type of homework. That will be the best starting point to begin with the research culture or research mindset. This can also happen with the help of certain other coursework. Rather than copying it directly from the textbook, you can use some MIT OCW, Coursera, or NPTEL MOOCs type of content. You can provide some supplementary reading or reference books to the student. You can search certain research papers available in journals like IEEE or Springer related to the topic which appears in your syllabus or curriculum. You can think about some innovation in laboratory experiments and try to think about content beyond syllabus, which is anyway becoming mandatory now with the NBA and NAC type of activities, that you need to teach something beyond the syllabus, and that you can immediately start working. And many of you must have anyway started doing this long back itself. So I think the first one, many of you must have done long back. The second one is guiding BTech projects. Although MTech and PhD may require some kind of additional compliances from your as well as from your institute side, because your MTech should be there in your institute and you must be PhD guide to do that. But BTech, many of you must be guiding. You can give some challenging BTech problem, final year project, BE or BTech projects to your student, rather than giving very regular or routine type of problems. And nowadays, this AI, machine learning, deep learning, they do not need a lot of investment actually. There are many open source tools which are available, which can be used for doing path-breaking research. Now, this AI, machine learning, deep learning, blockchain, IoT, and all these emerging technologies have actually democratized the research. You do not need to have crores of rupees to do anything in this. A lot of open source libraries and resources which are available, which you can actually start exploiting more. The next one is, now having understood that, let's try to see what are those things which you can do in the research paper writing. So this is the core part of my presentation. There's tips. As I told you, there are no tricks as such, but the tips are there surely. So I will be mainly focusing for the rest of the session on giving you certain tips on writing research paper and research proposals. So I should have some credentials before I talk to you. So just to highlight, I have more than 100 research paper written and published, out of which around 13 are in IEEE transactions itself, and there are a couple of other on reputed journals like Springer, etc. So based upon my understanding, many of those more than 100, as I told you, are accepted, but equal and even more number of papers were rejected also. So it's not necessary that all that you submit gets accepted. There are a couple of others which got rejected. So whatever I will be sharing with you is based upon that experience. So let's see how somebody can start writing a research paper. Now, this is assuming that you are not done so far. Many of you may be well-established researchers as well. I could see participants list when I logged in. And I know by name many of you, and you have established yourself as research fellows in terms of writing research papers or writing research proposals. So this slide is particularly those who are yet to get exposure to that kind of thing. So first thing that you need to do is to identify a research problem or domain. This is the most important one, because here you need to do some kind of survey that in which particular area you need to explore a bit more. It can be your master thesis work, it can be your doctoral problem, or it can be altogether a new area of research. So sometimes what happens is you may begin with research in one domain, and then you might migrate to other domain as well. So this happens. However, the application domain might keep on changing. The underlying theory will remain same. I'll tell you my own personal example. So I am basically from systems and control, and I started research as a robotics, because that's part of the systems and control, where the mathematical modeling and other things I worked in initial few years. Subsequently, I realized that this nonlinear dynamics which comes in case of robotics is very similar with what happens in case of microgrids as well. So the dynamics of the power system and dynamics of the robotic system, more or less when you try to write down in the first principle model, remains same, because the mass spring damper analogy you can try to bring into your resistor, capacitor, inductor, and the mathematical underlying principles are remaining same. So it may so happen that when you identify a research problem, you might migrate to other domain as well. So that is perfectly all right. You might begin with your master or doctoral thesis problem and then subsequently migrate to any new area. Once you have done that identification of the domain or the research area, the next thing that you need to do is to perform rigorous literature survey and then perform some gap analysis. Because when you want to narrow down on the area where you want to focus the attention, you need to first see what other people have done, whether that area is fertile or not. So sometimes what happens is people try to select a particular research problem where not many people have novelty aspect or ingenuity aspect. However, when not many people have worked on that, it also indicates that either that area is not worthy of doing research or it is very tough that people have not attempted to. So when not many people have done research in that area, you need to be a little bit cautious and try to find out whether that area is really worthwhile. Is it not that it is very trivial that people are not opting for it, or whether it is very much tough that people have given up onto that area? So you need to do a lot of literature survey to understand whether there is any substance in that area or not. Now, sometimes when you find too many people writing too many research articles on a certain area, so it means it is a fertile, but then you need to identify gap also, because if hundreds of people have contributed in that area, then is there anything substantial remaining for you to contribute? That also you need to think. That is possible when you do literature survey and when you do gap analysis. When you find out that this is the area which you want to narrow down to, this is what other people have done, and you would like to either extend your work in this direction, which will be trying to address the gap that other people have left. Now, depending upon what will be your contribution, accordingly, you might be putting your publication or research in journal paper or a conference paper. So one more thing that I come across when I discuss with my own PhD student, that they come up with some kind of intention or impression that whatever they are doing it at the level of Nobel Prize winning. It's not that. Research is always incremental research. Always I tell everybody that you need to think in an incremental direction. If you think about the Nobel level research, it will never happen overnight. You start with some minor contribution. It may be actually plus delta of what other research has done, put into a respectable conference, then dig it more. And if you get any new innovative result, put it into some peer reviewed moderate type of journals. And further down, after working for 2 to 3 years, if you get the result which is outrightly different than what other people have done, you can put into a very good respectable journal, like even Nature, Science, etc., or IEEE transactions and all those things. So depending upon how you incrementally do the research after identifying the gaps, and then further subsequently as your insights get developed into that area, you can then try to give meaningful contributions. Now, those work that you identified may have different direction. It may be based upon entirely empirical data that you have achieved or got. It may be experimental research that you have encountered. It may be theoretical, purely theoretical, like proof theorem, lemma proving, etc., that you have worked entirely on the theoretical research. Or nowadays, people are trying to also in the machine learning, AI, etc., programming, or any other type of mixed approach. So different approaches you can adopt once you identify certain area of research. Now, experimental research, if you want to do, if you are not having any facilities available, it may be creating some difficulties. You may have to tie up with either individual or collaborative research. Like if you are trying to do some kind of high-end research, let's say in the microgrid, then you would like to go to IIT Bombay or somewhere where that kind of test bed is available. Request them to do some kind of experimental, and most of the time, depending upon the genuinity of your research problem, they do allow, of course, at the condition of acknowledging their lab, either in the acknowledgement or as a co-author of that. So that usually happens. So you will have to decide the direction in which you will be working for your identified problems. So basically, these are 3 steps which are involved. Identify the research area, find out the gaps based upon the literature survey, and then decide the approach, whether you would like to go for experimental, theoretical, or programming, and initiate your research activities. So the next slide, please. Having done that, once you start working and once you reach to a certain contribution, now what is that contribution is a subjective part. So if this contribution is worth publication or not is subjective part. If you are a research student, your supervisor might decide about the contribution. If you are individual researcher, then you may have to think based upon your contribution, the corresponding platform for publication. As I told you that if it is a very marginal contribution plus delta on somebody's work, if you have done that, but not having much of the novelty, then you can think of publishing this in a conference. But if you feel that this is a novel contribution that you are arrived at, then you might think of putting it into a respected peer-reviewed journal as well. Depending upon that, your outline of the paper will typically look like this. You will have a title, abstract with certain keywords. Then you will have one section which talks about introduction, which involves motivation, means why you opted for this problem and how it is worthwhile to deal with this problem. Literature survey, mainly this will tell what other people have done to address this particular problem. Then the most important one, the paragraph that you need to write, that is on contributions of the paper, where you need to highlight what are novelty that you are presenting in this paper. Now, there are 2 types of papers. One is where you are trying to publish the contribution of your own, and there are other type of papers which is typically for review, in the sense that you identified certain area and you are writing a review paper wherein you do not have anything to say from your own side, but you are just compiling in a nice manner what other people have done. So in that case, the contribution of the paper or the novelty aspect may be a lesser one. But what I am talking about is the technical article, not as a review paper as such, where the novelty is required to be identified in one paragraph. 90% of the time, acceptance or a rejection of your paper is based upon abstract paragraph and the paragraph that you write for contribution of the paper. So at these 2 places, you need to be much more clear, much more crisp, and as much as possible, the clarity is required to be brought out in these 2 paragraphs, the abstract paragraph and the contribution of the paper paragraph. Because whether the reviewer will read your paper or not, in seriousness, is decided by these 2 paragraphs. If the reviewer feels that there is some substance in these 2 paragraphs, then the reviewer will go on looking more seriously for rest of your paper, and your chances of acceptance are improved based upon this 2 paragraph itself. So you need to be much more careful while writing these 2 paragraphs, paragraph on contribution and paragraph on abstract. And there will be one paragraph which will be highlighting outline of the paper. It simply says that section 2 presents mathematical model, section 3 gives experimental result, likewise. So outline of the paper is typically 1 paragraph. So motivation, literature survey, contribution, and outline of the paper typically are arranged as one introduction section. Sometimes if the literature survey is more, it might even be considered as a different section. So there is a lot of subjectivity, but these are the general guidelines that I was talking about. Then comes the body of the work, where you are actually trying to present your approach in terms of methodology that you adopted, the mathematical modeling, if at all you are done, that is required to be presented there, the experimental platform that you have used, and the system description for that experimental platform is required to be given, so that the reviewer will get idea that your results are based upon a genuine type of experimental platform. So that body of your work will appear as one section, and that is the important one when you want to give some kind of theoretical or experimental results. Followed that, you will have a section which is corresponding to the results, where you can present the results, and you need to show how your results are better than what are presented by the earlier authors of the similar area. So based upon your literature survey, you need to show that if you are working on machine learning approach, let us say that the earlier work has gone till 87% of accuracy, and my approach is giving 92% of accuracy. So those kind of comparisons as compared to the previous results, how your system is better, is required to be highlighted there. Now, it is not necessary that every time you may come up with the better results, but if you are also coming up with a different perspective or different insights which were missing with the earlier work, that can also be a good contribution. Not necessarily that your work should always be better. Your work which brings in some new insight is also considered to be a contribution from scientific community point of view. In fact, if you can come up with a very clarity about some result that this problem is not at all solvable, that is also considered to be a great contribution. Not necessarily that you are reaching to the path-breaking result, but if you can prove that in no condition, or maybe with so and so condition, this problem is not solvable, that also is considered as a good contribution. Then you can be having conclusions and the future scope of the work. Typically, future work, you need to write down 1 or 2 directions so that the people will start citing your work. Mainly nowadays, what is also becoming important is the citation index as well. So typically what happens is when you submit the paper, your paper get accepted. That is one achievement. However, now people are not keen on how many numbers you have submitted. People are trying to understand what is your Google Scholar index, what is your H index, what is your I10 index, what is your ORCID index. So there are a lot of indices which are available now which measure what is impact of your research work. And the impact of the research work will be there only when people start building onto your results. So at the end, you need to provide certain directions for future researchers to take ahead the work that you have done so that your impact will be increased. Impact of your research work will be increased. Then you need to provide the acknowledgement which will be there in case if it is based upon some funding agency, or if you are using some experimental platform from other organization or individual, or if you are taken certain inputs from the author, some other person. So there is a slight difference. If you are taken only marginal benefit of somebody else, either individual or organization, you can put him or her in acknowledgement. But if that person has contributed sizably, then you need to take him or her as your co-author. So depending upon how much is the contribution of the other people, you might either be putting them, if it is lesser one, as acknowledgement, or you can take them as a co-author. So it all depends upon how is your collaborative relationship while arriving at that research outcome. Now, typically, the first author is one who has contributed a lot into the research work. Second, third, fourth authors are added depending upon their degree of contribution or amount of contribution into this research outcome. So many a times people feel that if there are too many authors, then the weightage attributed to each author will be accordingly marginally reduced. Single author papers are considered to be the best. However, now the tendency is of collaborative research. So multiple authors are also are considered now as a good sign that you could collaborate with the other research groups, typically in a multidisciplinary type of research problems where people would like to collaborate with the other domains as well. For example, if I want to work on industry 4.0, so there can be somebody from mechanical department, maybe for automation, robotics, etc. And there may be a person from electronics department who is working on embedded system, and some person from computer department who can work on machine learning, AI, data science, etc. So nowadays, many of those research problems are multidisciplinary, where you can have multiple co-authors as well. However, the first author is considered to be the main contributor, and the second, third, fourth, likewise, the contribution goes on reducing. And then you need to add finally about the references, citing the papers that you have used. There is one culture is that although you may not have used a particular paper, but that paper was the first paper in that area. So just to respect the contribution of that author, normally in the citation that is also included. Although you may not have directly used it, but that was one of the useful resource. So references or bibliography is accordingly decided. So these are typically the outline of the paper, research paper. However, there may be slight change depending upon the journal requirement, as well as depending upon the area in which you are doing the research. So sometimes there may be one section on the nomenclature as well, in case if you are having the area which involves, like for example, standardization. If you are working in the area or domain of standardization of certain processes, then there may be a lot of abbreviations which are involved, and you may like to put one section on nomenclature itself. So whatever I have put it here in front of you is a general technical article outline, but depending upon special direction in which your paper is oriented. For example, if it is oriented towards a review paper, then certain sections might change. However, this is the generic outline of any research paper. You can move ahead for the next one. Now, when you write the paper, when you want to submit it for review, then care that you need to take is about the technical mistakes and language proofreading. Personally, I have experienced very bad comments because typically Indian authors, their English is not of that grammatical standard as it is expected by the internationally reputed journals like IEEE, etc. So typically for Chinese and Indian authors, sometimes certain journals offer you the proofreading services as well. But it is a better practice that you yourself take care of technical mistakes and the language proofreading. Nowadays, there are a lot many tools which are available like Grammarly and other. They allow you to do at least grammatical proofreading. You might take some help from your colleague as well, from the who has some better command over English language. If you feel that like English is not your forte or comfort area or comfort zone, so you may like to take the support from other people, other tools, as well as a tool you like Grammarly. The reason is, what happens is we may be having a very nice result, but just because we are unable to convey them properly in the English language, which is accepted language in the international platform, we do not get appreciation that it deserves. So we should take utmost care while presenting our paper that it is presented in such a format that the person who is reviewing will understand the gravity of work that we have done. So it is always better to take the help for language proofreading. The second one that I would like to add upon here is, you should avoid paid or substandard journals. Sometimes what happens is, in the early career stage, we would like to get our work published as quickly as possible, and in that intention, we submit it to the paid journals or substandard journals, and subsequently after 5 years or 10 years, we regret putting it there. So I would be sincerely requesting you not to do that, because there are a lot many international journals of ... There are so many IJ journals which are available. If you pay 1200 rupees, next day morning you will get email saying that your work is accepted. So there is no need to waste your work, because what happens is once you submit your research work to such kind of paid journals or substandard journals, your research outcome gets blocked, and then you are unable to publish it in a better place, because then self plagiarism creates some difficulty. Because same work, if you want to publish in a better journal or better conference, then the plagiarism check softwares will direct your earlier work which was submitted to the substandard journals, and then you will be getting rejection because of plagiarism level being higher than expected. So what you can do is, nowadays there are a lot many conferences which happens which are much better in standard compared to this kind of paid journals. So there are many IEEE conferences which are happening, Springer conferences which are happening, other conferences which are happening, which are better in standard. Many IITs or NITs are also conducting conferences. So it is always advisable to avoid as much as possible this paid and substandard journals. You should check the level of plagiarism before submitting the paper. Your institute may have this plagiarism check software. If not, there are other tools which are available. Typical tools which are used are Turnitin or Authenticate. There are other tools which are also available, made available by MHRD. You can get them readily accessible. If you search, you will find ample number of tools for plagiarism check. However, the reliable one are the Turnitin and Authenticate, which are used in most of the institutes. If your institute is not having that facility, you can try to find out your friend in some other institute and with whom you can get this plagiarism check done. You should cite references used in the work. It's a good ethical practice that if you are referred somebody's work, that work needs to be cited. It should not happen that we copy somebody's work without citing this in references of our paper. So ethically also it is wrong. So it is always better that you cite the references that you used in your work. And then try to acknowledge funding agency, if any. If your work is funded by DST or AICTE or your institute or TechCube, etc., then you must try to acknowledge that funding agency. So these are some of the tips while submitting your paper for the review purpose. You can go for the next one. Okay, so this was the first part where I wanted to tell you what are the tips in submitting or writing the research paper. So I gave you how to identify the research area, what are the typical sections which are there in the research paper, and before submitting it for the review, what are the things that you need to ensure. Having done that, let me come to the second part of my presentation, that is how to write the research proposals. So one caveat or disclaimer that I'm putting here is, again, whatever I'll be discussing for the rest of the time is mainly based upon the funding agencies that I have encountered. However, different funding agencies will have different requirement in the proposal. They normally give a template for proposal. So you need to first search if there is any kind of standard format. For example, if you want to submit to AICTE for MODROB, RPS or any other scheme, they have some format, predefined format. So you need to first get that predefined format, read their guidelines and the proposal template carefully, and then you can start writing your proposal. So this caveat or disclaimer I had put in here because different funding agency might have different type of requirement or expectation from your proposal. So the next one. Yeah, so the presentation that I'll be giving for the remaining part, as I told you, is based upon my experience of certain funding agencies with whom I encountered while giving my research proposal. So that's mainly DRDO is having their own IPR division. So that's for extramural research and intellectual property rights. So they provide some kind of funding. So they, based on their funding format, I have made certain corrections in my presentation. The next one is I got also some funding from ISRO, and they have also a template. So I combined the template from ISRO as well. The third one is from the BRNS, that's also a funding agency. based upon the Board of Research in Nuclear Sciences, and then the funding which you can also get from certain private industries as well. So I would like to base my presentation on such interactions. I also have some funding from AICTE and DST, which I have not listed it down here. So the presentation that I'll be making is combination of all those experiences that I have. The next one. Yeah, there are a few more which got rejected also. That also gave me a lot of learning opportunities, how to write the research paper, research proposal, or more importantly, how not to write the research proposal. Because once you get your proposal gets rejected, you get the reason why they rejected. So that helped me in correcting my next subsequent research proposals as well. So typical research proposal will have these many sections. First one will be title of your proposal. Second is executive summary. The third one is motivation and objectives. The next one is literature survey, proof of work that you want to plan, deliverables and expected outcomes, budget and budget justification, and then finally CV or credential of the PI or principal investigator is required to be given. Now, why I have listed it down together into one slide is, sometime back we talked about how to write research paper, and now we are talking about research proposal. So at the beginning, let me just clarify what is the main difference which people forget, because of which they get rejection many times in the proposal. Listen this next 5 minutes very carefully. In the research paper, you have done research, arrived at some outcome or novel results, and those results you are publishing it to the community. Whereas in case of research proposal, you have just identified the problem. You have not yet started working on it explicitly. You might have worked it based upon your POC, etc. But your actual work will begin when you get research grant, which typically is ranging between 1 year to 3 years. Normally, the research grants are varying between 1 to 3 years. There may be some longer research grants of 5 years as well, but generally these are between 1 to 3 years. So what is expected in the research proposal is that you should provide a proper deliverable or timeline for your period of research proposal. Whereas in the research paper, you have done the work, results are available with you, and those results you are publishing. In the research proposal, it's just a projection that you have over a period of 3 to 5 years. So research proposal is more tough to write as compared to research paper, because in research paper you have substantial concrete results available with you, whereas in proposal you are actually working in a future tense by saying that in the first year I will do this, second year I will do this, third year I'll do this likewise. So that is the main important aspect that you need to keep in mind while writing the research proposal. So with this, let us work on tips of the research proposal, as the title of my talk is. So let me go one by one into these different aspects of the proposal. Can we go to the next slide? So what should be the title of the research proposal? This is the most important one, because nowadays, since everybody is applying for NBA, NAC, etc., there is a pressure wherein faculties are required to submit research proposal, and the funding agencies are flooded with the research proposals. In that scenario, your title should be crisp and clear, so that the reviewer and the funding agency will feel interested into that. So your title should be concise, so that your reviewer gets sense what you are trying to do. But at the very same time, it should not be that abrupt that your reviewer is not at all understanding anything. And more importantly, in your title, you should capture certain keywords of the grant announcement. It means if the funding agency wants to give funding for renewable energy or clean energy, then there should be some word related to that in your title of the proposal itself. so that the funding agency gets associated or attracted to that funding for which you are applying. Next one. Now this executive summary is typically one page. So in your research paper, you write abstract. Similar to that, in the research proposal, there will be one page executive summary where you need to provide the information about background and justification of your research hypothesis. You should also be very crisply mentioning what will be the impact of your research, novelty and innovation that your research proposal will bring in. It should not be too technical and too condensed phrasing, otherwise the reviewer get distracted with your executive summary that you have given. And if there is no clear statement of why you are proposing this, then again the reviewer get distracted with this. So try to ensure that it is very crisp, which captures the significance and novelty and impact of your work. The next one. Now, literature survey is something which is different than what literature survey you give in case of research paper. So here the literature survey means what other groups, institutes have done to address the research area that you are proposing. And you also need to highlight the gaps and possible areas of improvement, what other people have left out as their future work. So this becomes a much more important one because funding agencies are not interested in duplicating the research work. If somebody else has already done that, then funding agency will not be interested in giving money for recycling the same thing. So you need to showcase what others have done, and you need to also identify what else is required to be done, which will be captured by your own study. You should not be giving very old and very irrelevant references in case of literature survey. The next one. Now, this is the most important one, and I have certain experiences to share. I'm not sure how much time we will have, but let me just give you certain glimpses. This is something that I personally have faced a lot of difficulties in justifying. What I did in my initial years is, while writing the proposal, we committed too many things. And then subsequently, we realized that we could not complete those deliverables which we had committed to the funding agencies. So here you need to strike a golden balance such that your deliverables or expected outcomes should be to the extent that the funding agency feels interest in your project. Because if you are giving very few deliverables, they will outrightly reject it, saying that this proposal is not having any meaningful expected outcomes. Whereas if you give too many deliverables, although your funding agency gets attracted, you may land in trouble, because usually these funding agencies will have quarterly, half-yearly or yearly reviews. And in the reviews, they would like to check whether your committed milestones are achieved or not for the continuation of the funding in the next year. So usually funding comes in different stages. Once you complete the deliverables, then the next funding is given. So here you need to strike a balance that it should not be too less that your funding agency rejects your proposal, and the deliverable should not be too large or too ambitious that you are unable to complete them. So this is the most tricky part of your proposal. So there are two tricky parts actually. One is deliverable and expected outcome, and second one is the budget that you ask them. So in the next slide, we will have the idea about the budget. So this is the second tricky part that you need to spend a lot of time actually. Your budget should justify your deliverables. If you're asking crores of rupees and if your deliverables are very trivial, then nobody will give you that kind of funding. So your budget should be justifying your deliverables and the milestone that you are proposing. Now, sometimes what happens is this budget, although means it all depends upon the funding agencies. You may have a recurring budget, you may have non-recurring budget. Certain agencies like the ISTE, etc., have some thumb rules about how much money you can give to JRF or SRF or research associate as part of manpower. So certain funding agencies are having their own calculation templates which are available. How much can be the overhead, how much can be consumable and contingency proportion as compared to the rest of the budget. Certain funding agencies are providing only recurring expenses and not any money for capital expenses. So it all again depends upon what is the requirement of the funding agencies. But what you need to also keep in mind is that you should ask the budget that you can spend. My personal experience is in certain projects that for which I got funding, I was unable to utilize them. Particularly this year, because of Corona, of course, nobody had anticipated that this Corona will come. So I had some travel budget of 5 lakh rupees in one of my proposal. And unfortunately, I'm unable to spend a single rupee because of the lockdown. No travel could happen. So these are anyway unforeseen kind of situations, but still you need to have some kind of way by which you can try to estimate how much amount of money will be required or made used for your project. If the money is not being used, that goes back and that reflects very badly, very poorly on your performance itself. It means either you failed in estimating the budget properly or you failed in spending them properly. So it's always critical that your milestone deliverables and your budgets are very carefully planned. Next one. Now, last part of your proposal usually is credentials or CV of PI. PI stands for Principal Investigator or the person who is submitting this proposal. So typically you need to provide the credentials which are relevant to the proposal. If your proposal is belonging to a certain specific domain, what is your earlier contribution into this area you need to highlight. Typically, the recent one is better. Last 5 years, if you can provide, it is always better. That gives positive impact. It includes publication, industry collaborations, and the IPR or patent that if you have in that area will increase the chances of your acceptance. Next one. This is a very critical decision. Same thing as I told you in the research paper, co-authors that we add. Similarly here, co-PIs are sometimes required. Sometimes it is required as mandatory from the funding agency itself that they would like to have some kind of support in case if PI resigns or some natural calamity happens, somebody has to lead the project. So that is why sometimes they ask the co-applicant or co-PI. So typically, if you are not having technical domain knowledge, you might collaborate with the other person and that can be adopted as a co-PI in your project. Similarly, if you are at very junior level and you are not having enough credentials, you can tie up with somebody who is having credentials in that area so that overall your proposal receives better appreciation by the reviewers. Next. Okay, so as far as the funding agencies are concerned, next slide. I recommend, based on my personal experience, to go into 3 stages. The stage 1, you can start with the smaller research grants, which are available by sometime your institute itself, if it is TechU funded or some other funding is there. Departmental research grant is also there. Then university minor research grants. These are in the smaller portion, 20,000 to 50,000 or so. Then there are certain specific calls which are there for women scientists or young scientists from DST, AICTEs, RPS and MODROB, and certain state government agencies. So what, based upon my experience, I can recommend you is you can get on, instead of immediately writing crores of rupees proposal, what you can start is start writing small proposals that will also give you some kind of experience of how to handle such kind of research grant, because you need to generate utilization certificate, you need to generate the expenses ledgers, etc. That experience you can get with the smaller project, so you will not land up in trouble, because a lot of issues comes while handling the finances. Typically, if the funding agency is government funding agencies, then audited statement of account is required and a lot of other compliances also required. So it is better that you groom up yourself with a smaller research funding before you go into the better one. So better one begins with the stage 2, where you can apply for Board of Research in Nuclear Sciences, BRNS funding. Then you can have ISRO. Particularly, it's not necessary that you should be from IIT or NIT or from any institute like VJTI or COEP Pune or SPC or S.P.I.T. You can be there from the tier 2 and tier 3 institutes. And this ISRO, BRC, DRDO, they have special schemes for tier 2 and tier 3 institutes, so as to promote the research in such kind of organizations as well. So ISRO runs a response scheme that is typically for tier 2 and tier 3 academic institutes. You can explore that. It is up to 10 lakh rupees that you can apply. Then specific to your domain, if you are working in the renewable energy, then MNRE gives some funding. If you are into the energy, then CPRI gives some funding. If you are from IT or computer, then METI gives some funding. So there are many domain specific funding agencies are there that you can go into the stage 2. And stage 3, these are multinational or multi-institute type of proposals that you can apply for DST. Mainly these are on national mission, like there is a national mission on supercomputer, national mission on ICPS, interdisciplinary cyber physical system. There is a national mission on quantum computing. So you can apply for this national missions. These may be international as well as specific calls. Some central government agencies also do a lot of funding in terms of specific call. For example, Ministry of Home Affairs gives some funding for cyber security, for making cyberspace safe for women and children. There's Ministry of Women Development. They work on different type of schemes. So Textile Ministry works on different type of research. So there are central government agencies who work. And there is an emerging area which not many people are able to tap as of now is CSR funding, corporate social responsibility. So that is there in this slide, industry funding, if you can just put in. So this CSR support is something which is emerging as research support nowadays. Last 3 to 4 years, I'm finding a lot of activities which are happening under this. As part of the CSR or otherwise also, many industries are jointly establishing center of excellence with academic institutes. I know within Mumbai University itself, many institutes have partnered with the industries like Bosch, Siemens, IBM, Microsoft for the center of excellence. Many institutes I have seen. So that is one of the area where you can try to get the industry funding. Research facilities are also established with the industry participation. One more area which you can explore once you get some confidence with the industry people is jointly with the industry, you can approach to government agency like DST, saying that this industry is ready to take the research outcome or commercialization of the patent that will be there as part of the research project. Then the DST and other funding agencies will be positive in their reception of your ideas. So you can jointly approach with the industry partner. That's something not many people are doing. We could do that successfully in some earlier instances. Next. And the consultancy and testing assignment is something that you can work on once the industry gets confidence in you. But how to get the confidence of industry, that's a long journey. You'll have to start interacting with these industry people, start calling them to your institute, request them to deliver certain sessions with the student, and make them feel that your student and your research group is capable of handling certain interesting consultancy problems. And then they will be really happy to work with you, because nowadays the attitude of industry is also changing. They are open now for collaborating with the academic institute. 5 to 10 years back, that was not there, but nowadays I am personally observing that there is a right positive reciprocation which is happening from the industry side as well. However, you need to first build the relationship and rapport with them, And that rapport you can start building by calling them to your institute and making them interact. You can also call them as examiner for BTech projects, minor projects, so that they will understand what kind of work you are doing. Although it will not happen overnight, it requires some kind of sustained efforts. However, this will be really giving you benefit in the longer run. Once you establish the industry and the ice breaking happens, once one industry comes to you, you can very quickly build upon that relationship with the other industries as well. So that is something which you should try to explore as quickly as possible. Then there are certain project-based funding which industries like ABB, Siemens, GE, these big industries are offering. Sometimes they provide fellowship to your MTech students or PhD student, or even BTech internship also. Many companies like Samsung and other, they provide the internship, 3 months industry internship to the student. That will be paid internship as well. Next. These are some of the experiences of our own where we could successfully attract the industry funding. We could get the funding from Immersion for the process control. They provided in-kind donation of their DCS, distributed control system, Delta V. We could also successfully recently 2 years back could get some funding from Siemens for establishment of this smart grid lab, where state-of-art lab we could create with the help of the industry participation. Next, under CSR, we could develop IoT lab with L&T Infotech, Larsen and Toubro Infotech, and this is one of the state-of-art IoT lab actually, because normally what happens is IoT is mainly restricted to the Raspberry Pi and such kind of things, but that is also good in the sense that you can begin with this. But this particular lab is having investment of around 1.5 crore rupees, where a complete industry 4.0 IoT enabled water treatment plant is established in the VJTI, and the similar research outcomes and understanding that we shared with LTI, and they are expected to use this in their smart city projects. So industry and academia collaboration can also result in certain kind of product development, which we could successfully do with L&T, Electrical and Automation Group. Next. And as I was referring for that, a lot of industry are interested mainly in collaborating with the academic institute, provided that they get some confidence that this association will also bring them some kind of value in terms of technical research or analysis, or providing them some kind of insights. So with the Cisco, we recently got around 1 crore rupees in-kind donation with all Cisco routers and endpoint devices which are used for MPLS IP protocol, and we could set up a complete communication backbone for these smart grid projects. And that was highlighted in many of the white papers and other information conveyed to the stakeholders. Next. Yes, so I think since we are running out of time and we are, I think, almost towards the end. So conclusion point of view, so that we can have some time for question and answer session. So conclusion, if I want to derive here, is the first thing is you need to remove the mental block that research is something that is not my cup of tea. This is the biggest problem which forbids you to enter into a really interesting, wonderful, passionate area of research. So first thing is you should get self-motivated, take the first step. And once the journey will begin, it itself will drive you to a most beautiful destination. So I think removing the mental block is the biggest challenge. That is the reason in my initial few slides, I tried to give you examples that do not get stuck into the negative mindset that I'm there in the clerical work and I cannot spend time on research. It's not that you get into this, however small step you make the initiation, and then subsequently you will feel the change which happens in your personality and your behavior as well. So I would recommend that you enjoy the process of research without bothering for the final outcome. When you write the research paper, it may get rejected. When you write research proposal, it may get rejected. But do not worry about this. Do not bother about this. Enjoy the process, because the process itself is much more beautiful than the destination. Initial phase may involve rejection. Do not lose the hope. It happens because it's a learning curve. Once we understand what the reviewers expect from us, we can refine this, and maybe subsequently 2 or 3 attempts you might get into the successful research proposal. So actually, I usually give my own case study, my first proposal which got rejected. After reaching through 3 review process and final presentation in front of the committee, finally I got rejection. Momentarily, we all felt, those who were associated with that proposal, dejected, and we felt sad. But subsequently, we realized that we should not let go the hope and try to build upon the rejection that we had. And today, I have close to 10 crore rupees of funding from various government agencies. And the seed of that were those in the rejected proposal that I had at the initial stage. So it may so happen that initial phase may involve some rejection, but learn from that, from the rejected proposal, and you should try again. And finally, to conclude, you should always think in a positive direction. So you should always be positive. And I hope with this, I could convey to you whatever experiences I had. The next slide is for question and answer sessions. So we can take few questions if the time is permitting us, and organizers can take
Yes, sir.
If we have still some time and the questions are there.
Yeah, sir. We will take few questions. Sir, can you read the chat box? I'll read.
If you can select,
Okay,
because
okay,
if I don't know, there may be some questions which will be nasty as well. So if I ignore, people will feel that I selected questions which were more comfortable to me. So maybe the organizer neutrally can choose the question.
I'll select. Sir.
Yeah. Actually, it would have been great if I had shared a complete proposal, but the time restrictions were there, so I could not do that. But maybe it is a good idea. Nowadays, people do this patent clinics, then CV clinics. Likewise, the proposal clinics are also now people are doing for 1 or 2 days, where we can actually try to draft the proposal, taking audience and the participants together. But with this time restrictions, it is not possible in this session. But maybe subsequently with Sardar Patel and the organizers, if you can have, I will be very happy to do that.
Yeah, sir. Yeah,
Sir,
we will look
may
forward.
I ask a question?
Yeah, please go ahead, Professor.
Yeah, sir, thank you very much for your wonderful session. It was a very good overview of all this thing. I have a small question, sir. When we apply for research funding, is it mandated that the principal investigator should have a doctorate? That is my second question. And if not, can he be a co-PI taking another principal investigator?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. And there is one more question that I usually get along with this question. That is it necessary that my institute should be NBA accredited or NAC accredited for the funding? So these two questions are usually I encounter whenever I give presentations. So let me answer both together.
Yes,
so I am also a reviewer for this AICTE's RPS and MODROP and other proposals. So they have a format where there are certain marks in case if you are having PhD. So those marks you may not get, but that does not mean that you will be deprived of your valid proposal. So if your proposal is having substance, then you may lose 2 or 3 marks which are assigned in case if the PI is having PhD or not. So there will be some weightage, no doubt about this, but that does not deprive you of submitting and getting the funding. However, as far as NBA and NAC is concerned, there is no such restriction, but they do ask, like when we do evaluation for AICTE's, RPS, MODROP and other fundings. So there are certain point mechanism where they will ask if the institute is having NBA, if the PI is having PhD. So those marks you may lose, but those marks are not, let me tell you, those are not very great as compared to the body of your proposal.
Okay.
So even without those, you can still manage to get the funding if your proposal is having some substance.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sir, there is a question in chat box. Can you highlight the agencies that support academic research oriented and social application oriented projects?
Yeah, many. In fact, recently, what I am also observing for last 2 to 3 years is many funding agencies are expecting that there is some social impact associated with your research proposal. And nowadays, there is slight change I'm observing for last 3 years or so, that the proposals which are purely from theoretical nature are getting rejected, whereas proposals which are having some applicability where the commercialization of the research is involved and the social impact is involved, they are having bright chances of getting selected. So sometimes they specifically mention that you need to have only the social impact. Sometimes it is implicitly mentioned, but however, a lot of emphasis is being given by the funding agencies on the proposals which have commercialization opportunities of your research and the social impact. These two are now becoming much deciding criteria in the acceptance or rejection of the proposal. Earlier, around 8-10 years back, even pure theoretical research they used to fund. Now also they fund theoretical research, but the opportunities are getting restricted. Whereas the transformative research, where the research is having some commercialization opportunities, are being looked more favorably than the pure theoretical research.
Yeah. So I think, sir, there are no more questions now. Is there anyone who is having the question? We can take one question.
Sir, about the NBA accreditation score, there is a question, sir. Last question.
Yes,
that
yes,
is, sir has already answered. Na, that question is accreditation score matters for the approval of the project.
I think Professor may be interested in knowing how much weightage for this is there in NBA score. I think his question is from the NBA point of view. Yeah. So again, I had gone as NBA evaluator for at least 40 colleges, and when we give the score for R&D component within NBA, it depends. The score depends upon whether you are tier 1 institute or tier 2 institute. So if the tier 1, and particularly if it is PG, then the NBA team expect that you would have generated enough research funding through proposal writing. Whereas if it is tier 2, and particularly for UG NBA, then although there is a predefined table which NBA has given that up to 2 lakh rupees this much, these many marks score will be given, after 2 lakh to 5 lakh this much. So the formula is there for tier 1 and tier 2, but it is more seriously looked when NBA goes for tier 1 PG. That time it is expected that you should have got some kind of funding, R&D funding that helps in fact. But tier 2 UG, people still say that it's okay.
So thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It was great presentation, excellent presentation. A lot of information you have given, and I hope now the participants are motivated enough. You have started with the positive note, and your last sentence was also the same thing. Keep yourself motivated, positive. Thank you very much, sir, for this thought. And you also presented in detail how to not only write the research proposal but research paper also. So thanks a lot, and I think we will look into all these tips which you have given. And participants definitely they got this information, and I hope everybody is excited enough to apply at least for one proposal this year. I'm sure.
I think that will be great outcome of this session and your efforts as well. Let it get rejected. Let it get rejected, but at least journey should begin. So my motivation of delivering this talk was also that at least, because I told you that before joining Vijaytiya, I was in tier 2 institute, and I have seen how people look at it from research point of view. And they were, I know mainly couple of them were more intelligent, more creative than me, but they could not come out of that mindset. And that's a very sad thing, that when you have potential, just because of mindset, you are not getting into this very interesting field. So that was my purpose. So I thank organizers for giving me this opportunity to share my views on this. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir, you rightfully put all the excuses onto the slides. 100% true.
Yes.
All excuses were perfect. Sir, Sir, kindly accept this virtual memento from the organizing team.